Welcome once again, Valorant fans, to the Victoris Rival Series presented by Victoris Esports. It's week 5, which means it's the last day of the regular season and correspondingly the last chance for some teams to either get into playoffs or for the teams that have already secured their spot to finesse a slightly better seeding position. My name is Tim Seabrook. I'm joined tonight by the delightful Wumby, and our guest caster for this week will be Loki. Loki, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's really nice to have me on here. This is going to be my first time even touching Victoris as far as casting goes, and I'm excited to see how these teams perform. V3 has been very strong thus far, and Hunters Association has been going back and forth, and it's looking like it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for them, but I'm excited to see what they have going into this.
Yeah, 1B. So we've seen V3 on stream quite a bit. And at the moment, they're sitting at the top of their group. They're safely into playoffs and they're all but locked up their number one seed, assuming they get a win today. Tell us a little bit about this team. What have been their strengths in weeks gone by?
Their strengths in strengths in weeks gone by. Yes, that's what like, I thought you said strengths and weaknesses. Anyways, their strengths have most definitely been their team play. I really think they've established the teamwork that they this season. Last season I didn't get a chance to watch them, but it seems like with the introduction of their new coach and also them going from V3 now to V3 Dreams, signing with Dreams Esports, they seem to take it just a little bit more seriously. So their attitudes and whatnot have changed. They have a really good mentality. And again, that's all because of their coach, Royal. I've had a few conversations with him. I've been in call with him a few times. He's a really nice dude who knows a lot about the game. Um but we talk about strengths. I do want to touch on their weaknesses just a little bit. There have been moments where and I don't know, it comes through a couple of players, or one of the main players that I'm thinking about is Wheatley, who is a little bit newer, so obviously their comms are going to be a little bit more muddled than usual. Xavier's not here for this season. We know that. We announced it the first week we casted V3 Dreams, and they're still trying to fit Wheatley in whatever position they're trying to fit him in, because of everything else is covered. They just need to find that right little kink with Wheatley to make him work in that squad.
That they do. But so far, they've been able to make it work, especially
Mhm.
bringing in that strength of their core four from the last season. And we can see in the standings that has left them clear at the top of the group. We suspected they might even go undefeated over the course of this series, but they did lose last week. So 3-1, still season top of the group. And if look, if they lock up a win today, 1B, they'll be clear top, the number one seed going into playoffs, which is something they achieved last season as well. So replicating that performance, but they'll be hoping they can go a little bit further as well. The rest of the group, though, Group A, is a little more wide open.
Mhm. Yeah, most definitely a little bit more wide open. I can actually pull up the standings here for you guys just in a little bit. But the main team, or the main two teams that I wanted to like talk about, or not the main two teams, but the main teams I wanted to kind of touch on, obviously are today's guest here, Hunters Association, and then also another team who I think has also locked in their place for the playoffs this season in Goofy Goblins. I They are completely new. May I remind you guys, they haven't been together for all that long as a team, and they're about to. It looks like they're about to get ready and make playoffs this season from Group A, sitting just below V3 Dreams, who they played like I think in week 2. That was the first game that we casted with V3 Dreams. That was a really good game. It went all the way to 3 maps, and V3 Dreams just took it in that last map. So again, Goofy Goblins, obviously, I think they have already again qualified for the playoffs due to that second space. Another team that's in there are obviously Team Greed, who actually just beat V3 Dreams. They handed them their first loss of the season just last week, and it was a 2-0. And if I pull up the scores, I think it was like a 13-6, 13-8. So it seems like the games weren't even really that close to begin with. The Greed just stealing that one off of V3 Dreams, and V3 Dreams not really having an answer back. And then obviously Hunters Association, they sit just in fourth. And the thing that's really important, and I said this last week as well, I said week 5 would probably be the most important week for teams. And the reason why is if you look at the standings again, Hunters Association are just in that fourth place spot. If the teams below them can get a result, or not the teams, but the team, Team Hingies, if they can end up getting a result tonight, they could probably climb just above Hunters Association. Although I don't, yeah, I'm not too sure about that.
Indeed. So it's all on the line. And just to go over
Hmm.
Group B, we saw them on stream last week. ACT Gaming took on PGR in a top of the table clash. It ended up going the way of ACT, last season's runner up, showing their form. And Loki, we've seen over the course of the season, the standings kind of reflect that the teams that were in the rival series last split, sorry, are the ones finishing at the top of this split. So what do you think? I guess four teams I say, okay, how much do you account to that for familiarity with the rival series, Loki, as opposed to just being around as a team and working on your, I guess, your gameplay?
So I'll bring it from more of a contemporary sports background. The teams that tend to stay at the top, you look at your D1 teams oftentimes, they're the long standing. We've always had an org. We've had these consistent coaches. We've been able to pump more people in and get people hyped for what's going on. That's always going to be leading into it. But when you have some of these passionate underdogs, like we were talking about the food getting snatched out of V3 Dream's mouth just the other week, those are always exciting to see. The ones that come in and have something to prove, and it ends up more coming down to how much do these new teams really spend seriously trying to make a name for themselves. Any team can take these thrones, but at the end of the day, having those ancestor in teams does help a lot because you have these rosters you're more familiar with. And I don't want to point any blame at Wheatley, but Wheatley being a new dog on a standing team does make things a little bit muddy, as Wumby said earlier. And that might be able to have a little bit more of a discourse to be able to make things pop. But I'm really curious how everyone's going to be keeping it together with the roster as is, since they've had a very strong performance so far, regardless. They've been able to integrate new blood with no problems, from what I can tell.
Yeah, but speaking of new blood, Hunter Association is completely new blood, new to Victoris, presumably new to being a new team as well. And while we're talking about them, we can take a look at their roster. They come into this split with an 8-player roster. They're going to have plenty of flexibility available to them. The question will be, I guess, for them, what is the starting five they're going to be starting with? So I'm just going to flick back to the game. They've actually got their players in game, so we can see 6 inches deep. Wiley on Smitty W. I'm pretty sure he's on V3. Okay, the teams are mixed up. Okay, so we don't exactly have the full lineup, but I guess talk us through what it's like, 1B, for a team to come into this tournament, not only as a new team, so how do you approach the tournament, but then how do you manage this 8-player roster?
How you manage it's I don't I think the easiest way to do it is find out which roster is going to be your main five, and obviously if those players can't make it, or if something goes amiss with the team, maybe it just doesn't work out chemistry wise, maybe there's a lot of like hostile issues and etc., maybe communications, maybe skill wise it's not the fit for those specific players on a roster, then you have backups come in and fill in those gaps, fill in those roles. And I guess it's just about, well, if they like get into a specific game, maybe they think a specific player is better fit for this. They'll bring him in over another player, or maybe it's just like extra backup for when maybe somebody's not feeling it. Maybe they have like other issues to deal with IRL, stuff like that. I've never seen, you know what, even in T1, I've never seen teams have this much backup to them. If a player in like T1 or in Pro League ends up, I'm talking Pro League as in R6, or even in the Valorant Pro scene, if they end up losing a player, sometimes they have their coach fill in, and then obviously that can screw up their results. I think of like I'm going on for Siege turn. When SSG lost their main IGL, they had their analyst fill in, and he had a couple of good games, or well, one good game, and then after that, it started to go downhill for SSG, and they were the reigning world champs at the time. So obviously, you can tell what that looked like for their reputation. But Hunters Association, they have a lot of options. They have a lot of flexibility. Obviously, the main question is, like I said, well, what does that fit in?
With a question indeed. And now, Loki, we've talked a lot about them. We can look at the V3 roster. We've seen the same five come up. We've seen 4 out of 5 come up most weeks. Wheatley's been filling in for the last two. Just so I know, this is the third time they're on broadcast. So we saw their coach Vendetta step in for them week 1. Wheatley came in week 2, played a good Sentinel. Week 3, they're going to look like, at the moment, they look like they're going to be starting with the same roster. We're still waiting for the final list of players to come in. But um, I guess what more is there to say about this team? They've shown that they are a force to be reckoned with here in the group, aside from that loss to Greed, who, again, another returning team. So maybe a little history there
Mhm.
for those teams. I guess what can they do to ensure that Hunter Alliance don't upset them here and potentially prevent them from securing that number one seed going into playoffs?
I mean, I feel like a lot of it's going to come down to mental. Realistically, they know they can play as a team very well. They know they're very strong. Looking at some of their lineups, they could run a very dominant double initiator if they wanted on a lot of these maps. It's a very good way to play, especially when you already have a lot of comms on top of it. But if they do lose a couple rounds in a row, we're going to be relying on that coach to be able to take a second timeout, bring their mental
Mhm.
back together, and just keep everyone centered. Because right now, V3, they're the team to beat. They're sitting on top of the world in this case. Hunters Association, all they have to do is go for a punch up to be able to try to have something to work with to try to make sure they have good, they're even able to get into the seeding. But right now, V3 is sitting pretty. This is, they can go out there, they can try to just enjoy the game, try to be able to keep everything together, and they just don't want to let things fall through the cracks as we get going. I think the biggest thing this is going to come down to, honestly, is the mentals on these players getting into it, looking at it, seeing we're the ones to win here. As far as the numbers go, we're the one everyone's going to be rooting for and expecting to win. And if there's an upset, I'm personally here for it. I love an underdog story, but I'm not sure I'll be able to see that happen as we've already established. Hunters Association, they're a very, very new team, but I'm really excited to see this large roster to be able to swing in from out of nowhere and potentially sweep this would be a beautiful tale to tell going into qualifiers.
Just gonna have a quick look to see who Hunters Alliance actually managed to get wins against. They did lose to Greed. Oh, they beat.
They
Okay,
beat
they beat
NW.
Nature's Wrath. Yeah, okay. I was thinking, maybe if they and they
Mhm.
beat. Look, they beat Goofy Goblins actually, who took V3 all the way to a 2-1. That was a very close match. In particular, the first match, map Icebox, which is a map we won't be seeing
Mhm.
today, was very one-sided towards the Goofy Goblins. So V3 struggled on that map, struggled hitting their shots. They had ideas, but they just it couldn't get the players in a position in time to make it work. So there may be a little bit of opening here. Hunter Alliance has shown form against teams that have given V3 a run for their money. But you know
Mhm.
what we spoke just I've just touched on it a little bit. Let's talk about map pool for tonight. Tonight will be Haven, Split, and then closing out on Breeze if required. So um tell us a little bit about this map pool 1B, especially starting with Haven. What does that mean for these teams?
Um, we all know what Haven is. Haven's been played a lot in the T1 scene and also in the T4 and T2 scene. I've seen it actually, I haven't seen it that much when I've watched like Nerd Street Champs in particular and also the Pittsburgh Knights tournament. But the main thing about Haven is obviously you have to be on top of your rotations if you are on the defense. If you are just a little bit too slow, the attack can take advantage of that and box you out of your own sight. I think to last week I was watching a VOD over well, I can't remember when we cast it last week actually, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was on Haven and I remember it was the defending team who just randomly backed out of the C site, gave them full control of the whole site. The neon walls came up and then when they tried to retake it, they didn't even use any of their utility. So that's how crucial retakes are on this map, but that's how crucial actually defending the sites are too. There are 3 sites on this map, and so you find yourself overextending yourself, you find yourself overextending your resources, and it can be a hot mess sometimes. And that's why this map, when it comes to statistics and also when you look at in a VCT, is more favored towards the attackers. Not more favored, just like by like 3%, but like still it is a little bit favored towards the attackers. And V3 teams, they seem to have the communication on lockdown again. Introducing Wheatley into their lineup can screw up comms just a little bit,
I
but I
I'm
think
actually
that if
gonna
they're
put a
on
little
top of it
point in
today.
there. Wheatley isn't
Oh,
playing tonight. The coach
oh,
of Vendetta will be stepping in again.
Oh,
So
you know what? Okay. That's not surprising. I actually, you know what? I actually had a conversation with Royal just last week when I was talking to him about V3 Dreams, and like he was giving me some pointers and stuff like that. And the one thing that he told me was that last week in their loss against Team Greed, they had a lot of issues with communications and a lot of issues with things not going the right way, and specifically it related more or less to Wheatley, and they didn't think that he fit in. Hope he doesn't mind me saying that. I'm just gonna say it and put it out there because that doesn't surprise me because he said he might have to step in anyways tonight. So not too surprised.
that's all right. If Sentinels can sub in their coach, it's perfectly fine for a
Mhm.
team in the Victoris rival series to be doing the same
True.
thing. And now we know what the kind of lineup is going to look like for both teams. We've actually got all five starting members of Hunter Association in the lobby at 6 inches deep. Juan, Leon, Feeney, Blakey, Wakey, and Gore. If anyone's out there, friends of these people, you know you're going to see your friend on stream. Let's go to do some predictions, starting with you, Loki. You only have to predict which team you think is going to win, but if you want, you can go as detailed as you want. You go map score, round score. You can talk about the number of assists a team is going to get, but at least give us a team prediction, please.
For the whole thing or the map?
For the match, who do you think
For
is
the
going to win
match,
tonight?
I want to see. I'm expecting a 2-1 for V3.
So V3 1B, you on the V3 train as well? You think Hunter Association can keep their playoff chances alive? They've essentially secure their playoff. I believe secure their playoff spot. 3 wins should do that for them.
I don't know. There have been some issues with V3 Dreams as of lately, and while I do want to keep my faith in them that they're going to make playoffs, that much is confirmed already. It's I want to be able to root for them till the very end. And with all of the changes that have coming not only to their roster but also mainly to their roster due to Xavier being gone, I just don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a hard one to predict because I didn't think they'd lose against Team Greed, but here we are. Um hmm. I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna say Hunters Association 2-1.
Oh, bold prediction. I'm going to agree with you there. I think Hunter Association have a lot more to fight for tonight, and they have
Mhm.
shown they are capable of brilliance where it counts. So I think we're going to see a little bit of an upset, at least from standings wise. But V3, yes, they've secured their playoffs. They're likely going to get number one seed anyway. So I think they don't necessarily need to be. Maybe they're going to hide some strats, perhaps. They want to keep their map pool a little constricted and say, okay, you know what, we're not going to show anything off. We're confident that we can take anyone from that, at least from that Group B side of things. So yes, Hunter Association all the way with me. And you know what, folks, if it's all right with you, the teams are just readying up. We're confirming that we've got on the right server choice. I'm going to ask again if the teams are actually ready. And we can start getting into things. So, talk us through, starting with you, 1B Haven, what kind of agent lineup we're going to see. I'm particularly thinking about the fact that we've seen Fade here historically. Do you think the teams will be rolling that out tonight? Or maybe the honeymoon period is worn off and teams are reconsidering not necessarily whether Fade will be played, but perhaps more just where she will be played?
Mm, I don't know. I feel like we will probably see the fade tonight. I've seen so many teams in VRS experiment as I think we are gonna hit straight into Agent Select. So I'm gonna continue the conversation from here, but I still think we are going to see the fade. I think teams just it's not really a honeymoon period. It's just how effective she is on a map like Haven. Her Nightfall just covers so much ground. It can cover a whole site. It can give off so much intel. And not only just her Nightfall, but also the Haunt too. And the Prowler does a lot of work in clearing out not really clearing out certain spaces, but enabling your fraggers to do a lot of good things on their entries.
I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I personally have been seeing a lot of Fade come out in place of Sova to go alongside these KOs on double initiator comps, just because the haunt does happen a little bit faster to go across an entire site than the recon bolt on those aggressive takes, as well as having the extra blinds in the form of the prowlers in the back pocket are really powerful when you want to run stuff like not Reyna, sorry, Neon when people are feeling frisky, get that movement speed pumping as well as like a raise just to be able to have those high movements into those sites very aggressively alongside even jet post change. But
Select your
looks
agent.
like we're going to be seeing Sloth picking their Reyna, Smitty on the KO alongside a Breach instead. And I really like this pick from V, hovering over a Cypher instead of a Chamber. I've been seeing that come out a lot more in my games personally lately in place of Chamber, since there's only one trademark to work with to be able to lock down all of Haven. It's a lot to work with.
Yeah. I think the thing about it, even though Chambers has had that nerf to him, or not really nerf, but change into with his trademarks where they slimmed it down to one instead of the two. I've always said this, but I do think that it affects his teammates more than it does him. But it does give you more options for the Sentinel in the Sentinel category, and I've seen as a result of those changes, I have seen Cypher. I have seen more KJ, even though KG is like really, really popular in Valorant. It doesn't really matter which map you play her on. I mean, it does. I mean, Haven is a good map for her. Ascent is a good map for her. But still, you see a lot more variety in the Sentinel picks now because Chambers was in such a good spot to the point where it was hard to place another Sentinel above him, despite their utility being better for slowing down attacks and then zoning the attackers out. And now that Chambers is not nerfed to the ground because his tour de force is still very good. The slows last for like a millennial. It's crazy how they still haven't nerfed that, but it offers, like I said, it offers more variety in agent picks, and so we'll see how that plays into today's matchup. Not only on Haven, but also what we have on Ascent, because I'm excited to see what the picks are for Ascent, as a lot of utility dump.
Yeah, here's the util dump coming into the first contact, and we're gonna be seeing two players falling outside of
Spike down
association.
A.
It looks like this V3, as it's all down to Sloth and V already. Lathan, you missed a lot of the lives falling. First pick from Sloth, and he's starting to get their way out of here. Flash drive comes down. Two more players will fall, but the collapse from Gore is gonna be stealing the first round.
Util dump though from Hunters Association straight into the A side, and you know we saw a couple of kills go for Sloth, or not a couple but two, well one kill actually, not just a couple, but a couple of kills go for V as well as they try and play that retake correctly. Unfortunately for them, they were just boxed out a little bit into A long and they couldn't retake from there, but a good first round of Hunters Association to claim, and it sets them up perfectly for the second round that's about to come up.
Yeah, a little bit of a buy-up. Gonna be trying to get some eco frags, as it looks like we're gonna be seeing V3 defaulting just a bit more. Sloth leading a charge all the way up into this dark cover. Might be finding some contact with Blakey Wakey. Crossfired with Feeny in a second here, as there's the flash coming out from Breach, and Alir to be able to seal his paranoia. Gonna be coming out from Blakey Wakey to get a first pick onto the Sophical, and that's that entire push shut down. The rest of them trying to make their way up mid, but Gore's going to be stopping Vendetta at the door frame. And now it's back down to two players trying to see what damage they can do and get a move on with the rounds. Blakey Wakey's going to make V fall. And Smitty all the way up to the right clicks aren't going to quite get those. And that's 3 on the round for Blakey Wakey here.
Blakey Wakey getting a 3K up in Garage. The Garage push just funneling just funneling into absolutely nothing. Blakey Wakey able to get both the Breach and also Reyna, or yeah, both the Breach and Reyna that like funneled their way into Garage. Sloth was the Reyna obviously, and she couldn't do anything in that position. It was kind of an awkward one too for Blakey. He threw out a paranoia, or yeah, he threw out the paranoia as he was trying to deny the Garage push, but he reacted just on time, as well, V3 Dreams, they were none the wiser about the positionings of Hunters Association.
Yeah, and guns in hand, V3 are going to try to make mid happen again. Valor going to be shot out. A lot of people shooting down that door right now. Phoenix is forced back off, and this is great. The box not quite getting it. The fragment going to be slowing it down. Making this push become an absolute crawl, but there's no bomb in hand. B is left exposed, while V is all the way up on this A site, potentially going to be calling for bringing the bomb on over to him. Looks like that's just what they're going to be doing, as all of Hunters Association is leaning towards C. A little bit of contact shots going wide. Smitty W going to be popping the flash drive to try to get a little bit more space on B, but they're just going to leg it in the end. default line coming out, but not hitting anyone as the rest of V3 is making their way slowly onto this A site. Gonna get this bomb down in a second, and all members are up on both teams. Things can get very explosive in a second as Sloth was able to grab a kill on their own mid. Gonna be continuing to cause nothing but panic as V is
30 seconds
slowly
left.
inching around this site. Heeker on their heels. But there's the dark covers coming out to be able to start this execute. And the low point going to be going out, not quite getting anyone alongside of Flash, but it's a beautiful execute with Util dump if anyone was there. Fragment not quite hitting Gore, so he's in a very strong position around that smoke. But they have to push into all members of V3. Only 4 bodies, the Honk gets shot out. And caught in the cage along the fault line. Gore is not feeling great as we're going to be seeing a blast coming out in a second. Going to be sealing a connector, and that's the rendezvous into the next location as a relay bolt does end up connecting on Sloth as Heeker's able to take their head off. And Juan gets to pick onto the Sloth, but we're going to have to see what's going to be happening. The bomb is ticking down with this crossfire from Vendetta. Blakey Wakes is going to be the first one to fall for his Juan. He's going to be trying to get something, but now it's all down and Gore was able to get one on V. But that's the round.
You know what? I think you know, I know that's the bonus for Hunters Association, but the thing about that is that they did take around like 3 players out, so V3 Dreams are gonna have to rebuy those weapons. So while they didn't win that round, you're not expected to win your bonus round or whatever you want to call it, anti-eco. But what you want to do is take out as many players as you can. And for Hunters Association, that was at least 3 of them, and I mean that does some damage to the V3 Dreams players' economies. It's only 2 of them survived that, and they have to rebuy their weapons. But for Hunters Association, it is going to be a full buy. And after that last round, you know what? I really like the execute from V3 Dreams. And the one thing that I really had a gripe with was the misplaced fragment from Smitty that didn't really zone out Gore just deep enough, who was like hiding a little bit deeper into that A lane.
Cover going out.
Yeah, not all the winners are going to be seeing a garage execute. Fragment going to be trying to slow Sloth down, and Paranoia in the hand of Wakey going to be seeing what they can get. Paranoia going to go a little bit wide, and we see Sloth hugging this dark cover. Going to be potentially a nuisance coming up into this garage, but Blakey Wakey from behind is going to get the backstab, make their way on out of here. That's one of their main fraggers down. You don't want to see it raining down this early. No bomb in hand of anyone, but members of V3 up in this V. Getting flash drive out. Shots going wide back and forth. Blakey Wakey's going to be making sure Vendetta isn't going to be lasting too long. He can't use any abilities. Back to CSGO is 3K in the hands of Blakey Wakey. We might be able to see a cheeky little ace here. B on the back, almost enter spawn with Util out as the Spectre not quite doing the damage.
30 seconds left.
A lot of
Last
Util
player standing.
take this as Heeker will also fall. We might be able to make our way into seeing an ace. V is backed all the way into a corner of this spawn. Spectre in hand, 40 HP to work with. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be getting the ace, and Beanie is going to be avenging Juan right at the end.
Third round for Hunters Association and V3 Dreams, where they were backed into a corner and they didn't really know how to get out. Unfortunately for them, that is going to be a force buy from them, as they did lose an expensive round. Again, the damage that was done from the bonus from Hunters Association just a little bit earlier in that third round is obviously going to be felt in this round. And after losing that one, I mean, look, they're on a frenzy, a Sheriff, and now a Spectre. 2 ultimates already, though. That is the Cypher's ultimate and also the Empress online. So that could be some early aggression that we spot out from V3 Dreams.
Yeah, as we see, once again, the slow default around mid coming out. Genie is all on their lonesome in garage this time, as it looks like we're going to be seeing a B execute start heating up just a little bit, coming through the dark cover. We have V3V alongside the main man Vendetta just hitting back, but all the way through garage, going to be getting some eco frags. Feeney with 2 head taps in a row. Fragment to be able to keep something slow as Feeney ended up flashing themselves. But they did get the bomb out, so that's mission accomplished with the Paranoia going onto B site. Smitty working with the fragments. 6 inches is going to be falling. Vendetta.
Spike down. C. 1 enemy remaining.
Up the scraps.
It is done.
Our ultimate that I forgot to mention was the Nightfall. That was, I think Juan Leon was going to like line it up from A, but they made the call to just pinch the remaining few players in V3 Dreams in the B site, so that ultimate not being used. They didn't V3 Dreams also not using any ultimates last round, and I think that was the call for them, seeing as they were on full pistols. Now 3 ultimates are going to be prepared for them, and that's from the shadows. And with that, you could get so much intel from that ultimate of Omen, and also if they wanted to make a late rotate, the Omen could do that all by himself with Spike in hand, but looks to be a C rush from them, or the main focus is going to be C as they sent out some smokes towards that C area.
Gore is concussed by the fall line from the shadows. Does come out, but Vendetta will be making sure Gore can't stay on top of the world too much longer. The Empress is going to be coming out in the hands of Sloth. This could be a very explosive round at a moment here, as the bomb is now down. The timer will be ticking. 6 inches was caught on the 0 point. As this round is going to be slowing down, getting everyone regrouped, going to be getting ready to bring this Nightfall. The first one will fall, Wakey. Not looking too good. That's a pretty little head he's got there. 6 inches is going to take out Smitty. And this Empress is going to be running it on site. The Hawk coming out. Sloth able to get the frag, caught on the trap wire. Feeny grabbing the Seeker. And here's the null command. This is a very strong opening to be able to try to shut down a Sloth. Still taking their people long as Vendetta's going to be sidewinding both of them and bringing us to a 4-2.
From V3 Dreams, they just back off of the site, and well, not really back off of the site, but the Nightfall did force them out of there. So Juan Leon obviously trying to make space for his team. Unfortunately for them, V3 Dreams was just able to counter that by playing the long game, playing the long angle game, and they got their picks the way that they wanted them to be. Now, I mean, in this round, both teams are able to full buy Heeker. Okay, he is gonna buy his. Obviously, Gore is going to have that operator in hand, so that might do some zoning towards C, and it looks like they're avoiding C all entirely.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be looking to leg it A. I love this very slow playstyle. It looks like she's going to get the first contact round of Vendetta. Things are heating up. The relay bolt is going to get a concussed on B, as well as Heeker. That's 3 frags for him, and that's bomb down. Bring them in. Everyone, come one, come all. We're going to be starting up the blender. We have Wakey getting ready to be on this flank. He's been able to pick up scraps before, as now V3 is in a very bad position. Going to be stuck between a rock and a fragging place, as the Smitty is going to be the one falling, leaving it all down to Sloth. We saw they were able to get some frags back to back. He can ignore the long arm of the law, bringing this to a 5-2.
Flawless round for not V3, sorry, for Hunters Association, and the mainstay of that round is obviously going to be 6 inches position in a short, using the relay boat to stun those 3 V3 Dreams player, and then be able to high drive it and slide in front of the V3 Dreams players who were shooting at him. And it's a mystery as to how they weren't able to get that kill in the first place. A little bit poor from V3 Dreams, but I mean, hey, you won't. You know, it happens to the best of us, and even to the worst of us. I'm the worst of us, by the way. But yeah.
I think I'm going to be wearing that hat as well, as once again, it looks like V3 is going to be going back to their slow plays mid. They've been able to get a lot of success with some picks here and there before, so excited to see this come out. Clear is going to be going. Relay pull is huge, though, from 6 inches. Going to be taking out Sloth. That is the person you want to be taking out early, as the bomb is down. Beanie is going to be grabbing Heeker. And honestly, his Vandal's got some head secrets going into him as we're pushing out mid. Beanie's going to give V1 Vendetta in the pocket. Through the clutch overdrive. Grab one more, and Gore picking up the last frag with this op.
V3 Dreams are able to consistently get inside of the site with this the post plant so far has been pretty poor, apart from that second round that they were able to win, and then it's now 6-2. This is dangerous territory for V3 Dreams, especially since they are on the attack, and once the side switch comes into play, then we might see Hunters Association take the match by its neck, and V3 Dreams might not be able to come back here. But they do have 3 ultimates ready. The null command will probably be really helpful for them in this round, as well as the Rolling Thunder, which can clear out a whole site, depending on how Vendetta is able to angle this. But the most important one to me is probably going to be the null command, because the main thing that V3 Dreams have been struggling with is creating their own space, but also being able to push these defenders out and space them out from the site itself.
Yeah, the Rolling Thunder is very strong for boxing people off this site. You just love to hear them yell off their feet, as it looks like V is going to be taking 6 inches, 6 feet deep off of their own. But Gore with the op here, there goes Sloth. That Reyna will fall really early, making this a 4v4 once again. But V, on an inch of their life, is going to be caught up by Juan Leon. So they don't really have much space left anywhere. So they're going to be going back, creeping their way up mid. Feeny with the
Shutting them down.
Dragon as well as 0 point in hand. Going to be doing what they can to be able to figure out what's going on while in the dark cover. And that's a trademark shot up from Chamber. We know they like to play mid. We're going to be starting to see Feeny back out of there, try to watch both. And there's the dark cover. Making this take a little bit more awkward if there's anyone on these links. But they're going to be calling off for a second, continuing to play the slow game. They only have 30 seconds left in the round. It looks like they're going to be going into the hands of Gore in a second. Here's the null command coming up, but that's a normal operator going to getting Smitty. And another shot, they're going to be watching over this res like a hawk, but right off their feet. There we go, off in hand. That's not what he wants to do. Then with the head tap and Beaker getting another one for their own. Going to be putting them nicely on the wall. Blakey Wakey standing behind KO as he but doesn't get straight out of the head. Up in hand, going to be trying to run this. The haunt paranoia is just too good.
Vendetta able to take that operator off of the hands of Gore, and that doesn't really hurt Gore all that much. They do have enough crits to, well, they obviously do have enough crits with the amount of rounds that they want to rebuy that operator, but they also have the tour de force ready if they so desperately need to use it. They aren't going to bring it out because that'll be a little bit too expensive, and it'll be a waste of an ultimate, so we won't see it. But again, that is an ultimate use from V3 Dreams, and that is a round that they desperately needed to win as well. But now, the Rolling Thunder helped them out so much last round. They won't have to do this round, but they do have the operator in the hands of Smitty, so that's the bright side there for them.
I mean, with this positioning on A, they're not spotted by the haunt. They might not need to make them jump even because HA here, as Smitty's going to get the first one with an op. That drops it down to 2, sitting here as the dark cover is going to come out to start this execute. Blakey Wakey once again very aggressively alongside a dark cover. Could come up huge all over again as fault line. He just barely dodges that, but gets caught by the paranoia. And through the smoke, 6 inches takes Sloth. And the pass coming up from behind is Blakey Wakey grabbing V. This entire push is shut down. We really need to see some of these rounds start stringing together. Blowing this up in hand, they might just have to save and cut their loss to see what they can make happen. As it's going to be Blakey Wakey real close on this flank, setting themselves up. Just creeping away as this fragment's gone. Could be a chance for BM here as they're both snaking around this dark cover. They're kind of looking like Scooby-Doo right now as there's 0 no abilities to be had as they're on the edge of the smoke. By both people, but Smitty's able to make Blakey Wakey fall at least.
That haunt was a little bit scuffed, and while it didn't spark the players out in A long, and it did result in the Fate's death, it doesn't matter because their teammate has their back. So it was a quick rotation back onto the A site from the rest of the Hunters Association players, and no real adjustments made from the attack, despite from the V3 Dreams. There was no adjustment from the V3 Dreams attack, and they had their whole push made it by not only 6 inches, but also Blakey Wakey, who made them wake up a little bit, and hopefully they end up waking up in this round. It's 7-3, so 3 ultimates available for Hunters Association. The haunt being sent out in A long, but again, the push isn't gonna come from A long, so no the game there. It looks like the push is gonna start out in garage, and Feeny's just gonna back off for a little bit.
Yeah, Feeny's gonna give them the space to work with, get the team together, as it looks like all of V3 is gonna be bottlenecking themselves into garage. This can get very dangerous. There's speed to ball. Relay Bolt almost gets 6 inches out, but there's too many bodies there. As Feeny able to get off right at the end there. And that's a very strong player off this board, but we have the From the Shadows if they wanted to go out. Flat try almost getting Gore taken out by the Sheriff, but the shots go a little bit wide as the null command going to be slowing things down even further. Not allowing too much
enemy
able to take 2. And now it's all down to Smitty once again. Has the Sheriff in hand, is going to get backstabbed by Juan.
How important has Blakey Wakey been for a Hunters Association, especially on those flanks? Able to pull that one off through mid and pinch the remaining players in from V3 Dreams into garage, and they made garage feel like a hot box for them. They tunneled V3 Dreams kind of tunneled their way into garage, and it just fell apart from there. And now, I mean, their economy, I mean, this is the last round before the swap anyway, so they're able to buy up regardless of that. They do have
Does
3
anyone have
ultimates available, and
funds?
since this is the last round, I do expect them to pop it. That Empress is one that I'm going to be eyeing for especially, as well as the From the Shadows. But oh god, Gore gets the first pick, and that's onto Vendetta, and that's Breach gone too. That's kind of bad.
Yeah, that's a very strong initiator down, but Smitty has been able to come through in the clutch for at least 1 or 2, as well as V3 has had a history of lose 2, win 1, so I'm excited to see what's going to be happening as From the Shadows from he is going to be going there, but Gore with another frag on Smitty has this op in hand. I don't think they're going to be wanting to play C any longer, as everything's set up to be able to watch this. Blakey Wakey has an op of his own, though, as Juan Leon is able to take out Sloth off to the side. It's all down to 2 players at V3. It's almost a perfect on a buy round. You hate to see this if you're V3. Gonna be trying to get whatever room you can, as one's gonna be spotted by the Nightfall. One all the way up, is able to take out Beaker, and as the Head Seeker is gonna be taking out V as well. That's 9-3 right now, going in hands
Switching
of
sides.
Association.
9-3. Yep. That is indeed the 9-3. Maybe we'll see the curse be go in favor of V3 Dreams here, but it doesn't look like it for now. V3 Dreams seem completely out of their element, and when I'm looking at the scoreboard, I'm looking at not really Heeker because he is in the Omen. He's more on a controller role, but he is 2-11, so that is possibly something you want to look at. But I'm not gonna really pay attention to it. The main players that I'm looking at are obviously going to be the middle 3, Smitty, V, and Sloth, who just start on their A game, and it's usually, you know, one of those 3 players, Sloth, who is almost always at the top of the leaderboard for V3 Dreams, and it's just not clicking for them today. It didn't click for them last week, and I don't know if this is a tell for things to come, but they need to find, well, this first pistol round, and it could set them up for the next 2 rounds.
Gore just got saved by a little bit of miscommunication with paranoia by Eaker, but Sloth going to be the first fall in the round. Followed quickly by V and Eaker, but Smitty all the way up here, gonna be grabbing Gore, trying to get some room back, gonna be trying to get some of the body advantage. Vendetta gonna get RNG's clicked by Blakey Wakey though. And honestly, that's a little bit snaky, as they're gonna be slithering their way short to be able to get back to this post plant. Bomb timer is ticking. It is by no means in favor of Smitty, but they have full health to work with, a ghost in hand. They just might be able to make this happen. They've had a frag happen in much worse positions after all, as they're making their way into the Thunderdome in a lobby. Gonna be getting shots back and forth. They're gonna be making Juan Leon fall, but now they don't have much health to work with. A right click from a classic could make them very sad, as well as flash drive comes out. Not quite gonna be landing on anyone. Beanie gonna be switching back and forth. When we hear them short, we're gonna be seeing what we can make happen, as they're all the way up in the smoke, and the half peak is not quite there. Blakey Wakey with these smokes.
10th round on the board. And you know what? That's first pistol round of the half too. So that doesn't look good for V3 Dreams. You know, if they had a chance to get themselves back into this game, as I have a problem with my stutter. If they had a chance to get themselves back into this game, come the half, it was through that pistol round, and now that round has been stripped away from them, and we see the buy up come in for Hunters Association, and you know, the buy up round usually confirms the second round for the team who just won the pistol. That could have been V3 Dreams, and now it looks like it might be Hunters Association to take that momentum away from them. Sloth again is the first one to die, and that is probably a tell for things to come. The high drive comes in, and Inches is dead, but the A site it looks like it's in full control of Hunters Association.
Like you said, these buy rounds on that second round after this will
planted.
just be such a nail in a coffin, but honestly, I had high hopes for Sloth with the shorty. It's a beautiful gun. You roll your D20 and you see what we're gonna have fun with. But on this post plant, we're gonna be able to see all the members of V3, the 3 that are remaining, are gonna be saying a little bit of a memento mori as they make their way out. The Cyber Cage gonna be making some room, but
enemy
on the
remaining.
other side is gonna be taking out 2 members. V does get Juan Leon though, with one down, but more with the scoped weapons going to be taking V out, and that's 11-3. This is looking scary.
Yeah. not looking too good for V3 Dreams. I don't think nobody needs me to say that, but I'm gonna say it anyways because it's important for me to do so. V3 Dreams are gonna be able to buy up this round, so this round might go through what we've seen. I especially as of recently, I've seen teams completely botch the bonus round if they are the team to be able to buy up assault rifles. V3 Dreams, I don't think they're that team to do it, especially against the weaker guns of Hunters Association. But they need to find some adjustments to what the Hunters Association are bringing to them, whether that be on the attack, defense, and whether it be in this map or whether it come in our next map, which is Hazen. But essentially,
Right now they're gonna have to start talking about the next map, but Vendetta might be the first one to fall as they're gonna jump by 6 inches. And Heaney's gonna be Ferrari peeking the Spectre, but Heeker gonna be getting that refrag, trying to be able to bring things a little bit more even. It's 4 bodies for both sides as B-side is a very weird hold. Gore all the way down in the bottom of mid with that Marshall trying to grab Heeker, but not quite able to make it happen as Heeker's going to be grabbing Blakey Wakey, and he's starting to come into form. Sloth did live for a while. They might be able to make some gap with these layers. Inches in the back of the site is going to be taken out. It's down to Gore and Juan on the other side of this dark cover. On the other side of the cyber, Juan is going to be coming out. Doesn't spot anyone as they're not even spraying on the bomb. The bomb's going to get defused right under their very eyes.
Last player standing.
Now they're all just falling. It's 11-4, so that's a little bit more room for V3 to work with.
it's a little bit more room for V3 to work with. They did have a couple of players fall, but still around nonetheless, and they'll take it. But full buy coming in from Hunters Association, whereas we have a little bit of a janky one from V3 Dreams. They do have 3 assault rifles, or actually 4 assault rifles, counting the Bulldog, and also a Spectre, not the Spectre not being an assault rifle, but it being an SMG. And Smitty does have his no command available, so if they're able to spot out where a majority of the Hunters Association push is coming from, that no command could come in handy.
That's a beautiful haunt coming out there, but V pushed all the way up with this Spectre, might be able to just make 6 inches for today, and there's going to be the taps from V. You love to see it, these initial peaks when they go in the way of V3, they're able to do a lot with the round, and that's going to be a trap wire from V to be able to try to hold this space, forcing Hunters Association back just a little bit longer, but the null command was popped so early, and poor Heeker, they went all the way up into this position, but might not see the fruits of the labor in a second here, but Hunters Association will be found going C in a second here. We heard that util in garage in the hands of Sloth, who's just going to be sitting outside of garage trying to play for whatever pick they can get. We know exactly where you are,
Face
though.
your fear!
Going to be making their way up Flash, and that's a dismiss away from Philosophical, who's hit by the Nightfall. This is a lot of space to work with as we have a huge paranoia coming out, getting 2 members, and Leon's going to fall. The spray down coming back onto Feeney. Now it's all down to Blakey Wakey, and we're going to be able to see what they got in store when they're
30
caught in a
seconds
corner.
left.
Not quite sure what they want to do. Can't commit to an angle. It's going to get taken out by Smitty.
Flawless round for the defenders from V3 Dreams, and that's the V3 Dreams that we like to see in it. You know what? The main there's a lot of talking points that I could talk about in that round, starting with Heeker from Cubby in C Long, using his paranoia onto the C site once that push came in from garage to near sight his enemies, catch them off guard from behind. They obviously didn't have that intel on his position, and he was able to capitalize it beautifully. So I saw Blake mainly for a majority of the round be on the lurker and a flank roll, and he couldn't really do much from his positioning. Again, he can't really over-aggressive or anything like that. He has to catch these V3 Dreams defenders off guard as they're trying to make they often through the mid area. There goes an aftershock goes to space, but nothing is found from it as the main name of the game is going to the ace side 400.
They found my wire.
Yeah, V, here's the utils down,
Cage
and
trigger.
Ridable was able to make a little bit more
Spike
space
planted.
from the shadows, going to be getting them around, getting some spotted out, but Blakey Wakey was just way out of position. Gore's able to be able to make something happen with it too, but bombs ticking, you're going to have to start getting moving. As that's Rendezvous down, going to be trying to make their way onto the site. There's only 3 bodies left for V3 on this retake, so we're going to have to see them get reconvened very quickly, as a very strong post plant position is set up from Hunters Association to be able to see what they're made of as this is coming down to the camera is going to be
My eyes are
first
down.
ping, and we're able to see over by Graffiti.
Last player standing.
6 inches is going to be dropping V. It is all the way down to Heeker, who's going to be opting to save, going into the match point round. trying to see how much they can claw back afterwards. But only time can tell. I think most of their comps are going to be, what are we doing next map?
Yep. I think that's the only thing for V3
Match
teams is
point.
either better. Well, what can we do for the rest of these remaining rounds? Because their credits actually aren't too bad, apart from V, who will be on the pistol for this round most likely. She does have the neural death ready to go, but that requires you to get a pick. And
Here.
for most of these rounds, V3 Dreams, what they've been struggling on, and it seems that it hasn't. Well, and it's not been every single round, but it has been most of the rounds in which they've lost and which have been played. Is just getting that first pick and getting their fraggers to get the entry pick on the board, and it starts off with Sloth, but it also starts off with the initiator doing their job on flashes.
Yeah, we see Heeker with these teleports. He's going to get caught by Juan, who has 2 kills under their belt. A couple more heads for the walls. They're going to be making their way onto C, potentially. 4 bodies are up for under association as well. Roman and the Hawk both come in. Panetta trying to get the spray down, but through the box isn't able to quite make the gap, and right into the loving arms of Gore. Now it is all down to V and Smitty. Neural theft is up, but you have to find me a corpse. As they're going to be making their way from B. The flash drive is out, not going to be able to spot much. The Prowler is going to be continuing to keep things nice and slow. We're going to get a lot of information here and just keep playing this timer. It is all in the hands of Hunters Association for a very, very dominant game 1. As we're going to be seeing them start pushing the start cover. V's flash drive comes out,
Last
but
player
off shots
standing.
are not. It's gone. He's shutting the door right in V3, bringing us
Attackers
to this
win.
13-5.
Well, what a dominant performance from the lower seeded team coming into this matchup. Hunter Association take away Haven and put themselves one map away from confirming their own spot in the playoffs. 1B, a lot to take in from that map. In particular, I was really impressed with the way Hunter Association set up on defense. They were oh so confident, and just looking at the structure of their defense, they didn't have to change too much. They left Gore over on C, the chamber doing chamber things, solo anchoring that site, and when I say they didn't change it, they literally out of at least 8 out of 12 rounds had chamber on C. They had the KO and the Omen in watching B and Garage, and they left their Fade and Neon over on A. So it was just a defense that V3 couldn't pick apart. So they didn't need to
Yeah,
change anything.
no, they didn't need to change anything, and that that comes with the lack of adaptation from V3 Dreams, and it's unfortunate because we've seen them. Well, we haven't really seen them. When they get defeated on the map, they really do get defeated. We saw this against Goofy Goblins, where on Icebox they struggled for a majority of that matchup, and it wasn't just like a specific player in particular who was like bringing the whole team down. It was everybody who was struggling, and the whole team struggled to really make a call on what they wanted to do. But then again, we did see them when they went on to the next map, which I mean was Haven. So I mean they kind of dropped the ball here, but it's unfortunate. Um but now, when we do go to that second map, hopefully we do see some changes, and hopefully Vendetta can manage to calm down the whole team, because I know that can be a huge trigger, especially for most of the game. They struggle to really get many more of a lot of their fraggers on the board, especially when you look at Smitty and Sloth in particular. I was surprised by how little impact Sloth had on the game, and that comes with being a fragger, because you really need the support of your team, especially when it comes to competitive play.
Indeed. And we're going to talk about that. We can talk a little bit more about that map, and of course, Split coming up next. But we're going to go to a quick break just to let the players rest, recover, and hopefully bring their A games to map 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Victoris Rival Series Summer Split for 2022. Week 5 is in progress, and so far, Hunter Association is one up in their match against V3 Dreams and on their way to securing their playoff spot. We just saw a dominant showing on Haven Loki, and in large part, it was down to the way Hunter Association was able to set themselves up, particularly on their defense.
Yeah, no, Hunters Association had a lot of beautiful crossfires, even when, especially on offense as well, we saw them having that pretty little buddy system, as well as almost every single garage push from V3 came down to Feeney, came down to Blakey Wakey, getting these dominant positions, as well as the way they played around these smokes. There was just no room for V3 to run through those very important bottlenecks. And we saw, even when Sloth was getting ready to leer more than a couple times, they just got their head chopped off right at the door. They weren't able to quite get their foot in. And I'm excited to see that happen on Split. Split is a much smaller map to be able to play off of. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of these funneling into very important chokes. A main over by ramp, as well as just right at hell and discipline box, as a lot of people call it, is the places that I'm really excited to be seeing them play off of site. As well as last game, we did see the Fade KO alongside a Neon, so I'm gonna have to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back for calling that one. And I'm excited to see what's gonna be coming next.
Just curious, Wumby, so we have seen, yes, we did see Split from V3 a couple of weeks ago in their matchup against Nature's Wrath. They were able to take that one away quite convincingly. Do you think we're going to see a similar sort of performance here? And if so, what do V3 need to change to make it happen like that?
Mm, I don't really know. The thing about Split, as Loki just mentioned it, it's not like Haven. It's like a smaller version of Haven. There's a lot of choke points that the attackers need to worry about, especially like he mentioned over in A main, but also more importantly in Garage, especially if your mid presence is like depleted within seconds. People you can get funneled in Garage, and then it's just a horrible cesspool of you just being stuck in there for a majority of that round. What V3 Dreams need to do is they need to really focus on playing off of each other. There were a lot of times where those cross angles were set up, where Sloth would die and then there would be no immediate refrag. And not only would there not be an immediate refrag, but then there would almost always be a second kill that would come immediately after it from Hunters Association, and hopefully we can see them do a little bit better in that department. I again working together, but also in enabling Sloth a little bit more so she can do a little bit of a better job on Split than what we saw on Haven, because that's not the V3 Dreams that we know.
Yeah, and looking into this setup, once again, we're seeing a Fade KO hover on Split. And again, V grabbing this Cypher. It looks like a lot more comfort picks are coming out as we see the standard Sage Cypher in place of Chamber, just because they have a really strong setup on both B and A if we want them to anchor. But I'm excited to see the smoke matchup coming down to Heeker on Astra versus Blakey
Choose your
Wakey's
agent.
dark covers on Omen. Do you have any thoughts going into this?
On no, not really. The Astra one is an interesting pick, especially because of we all know what happened to Astra with her stars and how she was. That's so weird. I'm so sorry. I'm like pressing buttons. But it's pretty interesting to see the Astra being picked on Split. I've seen Astra be picked not only on Split, but I've actually seen an Astra pick on Icebox before. Don't ask me what match because I can't remember which match it was, but I know there was an Astra pick on Icebox because I most definitely was not tripping on weed or something, because I don't smoke weed, but regardless of that fact. I don't know. Like, Astra's obviously really good on Split, though. Like, especially with her Cosmic Divide.
Teleport's ready.
How we can cut off so many lines of sight from the defense, for Beast. Beast, for example, you usually see a top
That's a good
screen
spot.
cut off the heaven angle that exists whenever an attack is coming in through the main. So, I wouldn't... I'm not too shocked by it at all. I kind of like this composition, though, from V3 Dreams. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and we see Gore comfort pick Headhunter in hand, might be spotting Vendetta in a second with one between the eyes, but a little bit of it tiptoeing back and forth. Nothing's quite set in stone yet. Score is going to be grabbing one hit onto 6 inches, going to be dropping their health a little bit. Vendetta looking a little worse for wear as the rest of the team mounting an assault through mid. Could be making their way through B as the bomb buddy comes out and immediately tags Smitty, followed by a pain shells. There's one for the board. As a bomb buddy's going to be making its way into it, and it's going to be trying to see what they can make with it, as we have all of V3 pushed up here. Bomb looking like it's going to be going towards 8. 6 inches leading this charge. Going to be seeing what they can do with Hunters Association. Going to be holding everything that they can. Feeney, they've been very good at holding very bad positions into the other team before, but the way this timer is ticking down, everyone's going to be making their move towards A, as there's one star coming out. Going to be marking where they want to go, but this trademark is in a beautiful position to know exactly where this bomb's going to be.
30 seconds left.
It, as everyone's going to be legging it over to B. 20 seconds left, but this bomb will be able to go down. No one's there to contest it. And they shot out the one rendezvous that we had. And there's the bomb down, going to be making their way into heaven, into dirt. Going to be able to see what they can make happen. It's going to be a little bit magical in a second here. As Feeney's going to be the first one to fall while they're throwing the 0 point. And they don't even get to shut everyone's abilities down with that. So this is going to be a much worse position as V's creeping their way into heaven. A little bit of a sneaky cipher going to happen here as Wakey. First one to pop out is going to be able to get the classic spray down with 6 inches onto Vendetta, but Heeker with the refrag going to be able to play this post plan beautifully, bringing it all down to Gore, is able to take Footless Lothical, and now V from the background is going to be hitting him from the top rope, bringing this round in favor of V3.
Oh, an interesting attack from V3 Dreams to start off the very first pistol round that isn't split, baiting the A site and then going over to B. Yes, they did get spotted out by the trademark, and that did inspire a rotation coming in from Hunters Association, but they were just a little bit too slow in retaking the site. Feeney, the main focus for me was most definitely Feeney retaking from back alley, trying to throw a not fragment, but the 0 point into the B site. Just got caught out before he could even get it out, but going out as well. I believe that was towards mid, and the first kill going in V3 Dream's favor.
Yeah, Gore got caught while he was trying to make a little bit of a snap happen, as we're seeing these stars get used up really early on. The face shells into Vents, going to be clearing some room for Vendetta, as they're going to be stomping their way into A. Stop for a moment by the fragment. We have the bomb buddy in hand to help clear things out as a flash drive will come through. Not quite getting anyone. Wakey's going to be caught, and bomb buddy on Feeney's tail is going to finally go off. But that's this entire site opened up for V3. They're starting to come into form a little bit more, like a beautifully oiled machine.
Spike
And
planted.
just on the other side of the cipher cage is going to be trying to make their way down. We heard you drop off. But the spray down is going to be very good as he continues to wiggle. And
Player
there's
standing.
6 inches getting crossfired. All down to Feeney, storming their way through. But we've heard this tale many a time. A 1v5 with a man better than I. Classic, and it's for naught.
It's the buy-in round for V3 Dreams. Nothing too surprising there. It's flawless though too, so that they didn't get a single player on this V3 Dreams roster. But again, that is a buy round for V3 Dreams, and so they win it convincingly. So, but now we have a buy round for Hunters Association. They're not going to buy an operator. Obviously they don't have enough credits for that. Instead, they're going to opt out for the Marshall for Gore, who's going to be holding down these angles. And it looks like he wants to hold down his he wants to hold down the angles from the back of B site over by garage. And he has his rendezvous set up too, so that can help him out just as well. But Spike has been left in mid, and well, we have alert from the Cypher V over by A.
Yeah, and we know Gore, they've been very, very good at holding sites. They were able to hold C all of last game, so we have no qualms watching him just look over the dark cover, getting a couple shots tapped through, as the rest of V3, without V, unfortunately, is going to be looking to play around mid. Wakey could be the first to intercept anyone, though. sitting in vents. That's a very strong position. All of this goes on the wall, and Gore was able to get a kill on the other side of the map. A lot of people are just getting picked apart as we continue to run this. Beaker is going to be all the way up mid, has the barrier orb to play off of, but he's tagged by the fragment. So jumping from Feeney, not quite going to get anything. It's all in a 3v4 as a V is going to be making a 3v3, 6 inches deep, going to be put down in heaven, and Cypher Cage is going to be able to hold something, but
30
Juan Leon
seconds left.
has a very strong position as the flash drive comes out and they frag a little bit too soon. Heeker going to be making them drop out of heaven for a second here before the bomb goes down. This is a 3v2 as Gore spraying with the Spectre, not quite able to kill Heeker.
Spike planted.
And this could be the round that they need to be able to start getting things moving. This is a very important round for V3 to win. They're going to continue to play around these smokes very aggressively. Flash drive in hand of Feeney, going to be able to see what they can do. That's the 0 point coming from the speed to be able to make sure
player
abilities.
standing.
Gore going to be falling
One enemy
but
remaining.
from the side. Feeney is able to clutch it with the 2 head taps. And that's the defuse going in hands of Hunters Association.
V3 Dreams, I feel like they played that a little bit too aggressively, in my honest opinion, especially you have the smoke set up from Astra on Heaven, and also I believe by screens as well. Unfortunately for V3 Dreams, those stars were a little bit wasted. Well, one of those stars, which was the one by screens, because well, nobody was not the Cypher, my fault, but none of the remaining 2 Hunters Association players was rotating over by screens, and instead decided to rotate over by a main. Obviously, the knife spotted him out, so they were expecting the swing from the players rushing down a main. They just weren't able to capitalize off of it. He got 1 pick, and then we saw the player pushing it from them to get 2. That's how to bring them down.
Yeah, and it looks like Hunters Association is going to be starting to try to go for more aggressive pinches, knowing that V3s like to do these lurks. Trying to be able to get them while they're all separated might just be the play, but can't quite make their way into it right now, as Heeker is going to be sitting around with Bomb watching Market alongside their good old pal Smitty. And it looks like this is going to be a bit of a standstill for a moment here. But V is going to be making their way up, is able to take out Feeney. That's a good pick on the round. Strong to take out Blake, and able to get philosophical.
Spike down B.
That's a paranoia wasted, dropping into a 3 versus 3. Smitty on the back foot alongside Vendetta. Going to be seeing what they can do, but Vendetta is going to be taking Juan Leon out. And this is going to be a wild ride as we get into the late stages of this round. V is in a very good position to get playing with the rest of this map. There's a lot of space to work with when you have this mid control, but I think they're going to be stumbling right into
30 seconds
Gore's
left.
trap, having that trademark right there. Things could get a little bit dangerous here as it's going to be going off. Gore has this off in hand. There's the showstopper, but will it be enough as around the spot Gore out in this rendezvous to the next location, going to be making their way into Alley, and the showstopper doesn't get to land.
Spike planted.
Holds on to his up with a beautiful death grip as V is sitting on fence. There's his camera gone. Blakey Wakey gonna be trying to make their way into this, but the paint shell is gonna be continuing to keep it nice and slow, get the bomb timer to continue ticking. They have a little bit of util to work with, but not too much, as the teleport is gonna be coming out. They heard everything, and I think Blakey Wakey is gonna be making their way on out of here, play some exit frags, keep this up in the hands of Gore. And we'll be seeing another round going into the hands of V3 in a moment here, since the timer is almost out, going for these beautiful exit frags. Blakey Wakey has a very good position. Here's Vendetta running, hurt him next to the wall. It's not there. Vendetta will be getting the kill, and Smitty got caught by the bomb right at the end.
Pretty expensive round from Hunters Association. They do get to keep that op on Gore, so there goes a positive for them. One thing that's very interesting though about that round is obviously the Vendetta taking out the showstopper, and arguably that created a lot of space because Gore had to respect the showstopper. He had to back off into Alley, and while the showstopper didn't really hit anything, it did hit one of the rendezvous that the chamber did place, but also one of his other rendezvous was destroyed right before that, so it's kind of but it didn't zone down those, zone them out of their own sight and force them to retake.
Yeah, bit of an aggressive util dump, as it looks like for the first time this game, all of V3 is looking to mount an assault together on this A main. Bomb Buddy going out, not quite spotting much, as the 0 point is also not going to quite get anyone suppressed from this Feeny. So this is going to be a nice little standstill. Vendetta is in a very aggressive position, hoping that Feeny pushes. Hunters Association has been very aggressive so far, and as it falls, Vendetta's reaction time is just better. 6 inches gets Vendetta back with Smitty W with the double spray down, hitting 6 inches, hitting Juan. We got this
I know exactly
extra
where
ult
you
coming out,
are.
the Cosmic Divide and the Neural Theft. We know exactly where you are, and right now, Blakey Wakey has someone getting ready to put a knife in his back alongside Gore in CT with this op.
Spike planted.
This can get a little bit hairy as they're playing the edges of this wall. Sounds like it's just about to fall, and there it goes.
Gun here.
Walking straight into contact. As there's the Blakey Wakey attack on the camera, and a little bit of a spray down from Heeker. Goes a little awkward, but there we are in the end. Gore up in hand once again, might be opting to save. And yep, they're gonna just leg it with the tail between their legs, try to be able to hold on to this. Next round should be a gun round for Hunters Association.
This is the time for them to reset. Split zone as the defender side of the map, and right now, Hunters Association are kind of losing out on that defense. It's only been 5 rounds. Well, this will be the 4th round that is played, but the next round will be technically the 5th round. 5 rounds, and for just Rendezvous on out of there, he could have just been killed and almost lost the op in that situation. But this will be a force from Hunters Association, as they do take a timeout, and rightly so. V3 Dreams look like they're running away with these attacks, and Hunters Association haven't been finding the recipes for success on this defense. And what I've been liking so far is not really the aggression from V3 Dreams, but how they take their time systematically deconstructing what Hunters Association have set up, and they're able to find their way inside of these sites one way or another, whether it be like a bait towards one site and then they run away to the other, or whether it's just like taking their time through mid and then forcing the remaining players out of the A or B site and forcing them to play retakes, which for the most part Hunter Associations they have not been good at.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. Hunters Association not looking great for the retakes so far this game, but when they finally get down to those retakes, we have to remember there's only been like 2 or 3 members left up to be able to try to make magic happen. Into most cases 4 members of V3, except very early on it was a 3 versus 3. That was about as even as it got on pistol round for a little bit, but we're seeing the same thing as we saw last game. One side wins 2, the other takes 1. I'm really worried about the implications of this pattern as we get going on into it. Bomb Buddy does spot one out on B. Here's the null command, gonna be starting to get a little bit more explosive as the flashback comes through and dark cover. Straight down, not Blakey Wakey, not hitting anyone, but Feeney's able to take 1. That's just Smitty though, as Blakey Wakey's able to grab for those lock.
Spike down,
was
B.
able to take out their KO. And then will fall next. There's the bomb. The rest of Hunters Association is looking to collapse very quickly, try to be able to make sure that this stays a 2 versus 3, and there we have it. Smitty will finally fall. Prowlers from Juan Leon are going to continue to make space. He's able to land the showstopper. V in the background on Heaven. Could be trying to get everything that they can, but not quite able to trust the land as the blastbacks are going to be haunting them just a little bit. But the little util dump could be seeing what they can get out of them, as the haunt was not shot quite in time. Trapwire for just a bit of insurance as the camera's going to come out to try to get a little bit more information, but doesn't quite spot Juan Leon yet.
Cage triggered.
Going to be recalling that. Got the cage. Going to be trying to make their way through another avenue. As this bomb's still not quite in the hands of anyone. I think they're just waiting
30
for the
seconds
plant.
left.
It's a 1v2. They're already up a couple rounds. Going to be able to see what they can get happening, but actually V going a little bit aggressive, gets their head shaved by Juan Leon. 2-4.
Was dropped in the middle of the B side after a rush, or well, not really a rush, but a push inside of the site from V3 Dreams just kind of failed. The spike was dropped and then surrendered, into the control of the remaining two Hunters Association players. And unfortunately, V, who was on the flank for most of that round, I was
There.
watching her position on the map, just wasn't quick enough. And well, it's not like a situation of, oh, when her team needed her most, she wasn't there. It wasn't that at all. It wasn't like she could have been quicker. I felt like maybe V3 Dreams, the players who were rushing into the site, could have maybe slowed it down just a little bit to help buy time for V, but unfortunately for them.
Yeah, the pacing was just a little bit disjointed, but it looks like we're going to be seeing another very fast push through mid, trying to make their way over towards B, as B, once again, on this lurk, is going to try to see what space they can get for the rest of the team, but it might not be as much as they want, as all three members are making their way through heaven. Playing the barrier orb is still philosophical, but Vendetta will fall to Blakey Wakey, who's going to be continuing to hold this. Has a beautiful paranoia going right onto Smitty, and it looks like it hit Heeker as well, as they're forcing this very awkward position. Feeney going to get sidewinded by Smitty, though, as Juan is going to get taken out by V, and all the bodies are just going to keep hitting the floor. The tour de force in hand of Gore, going to be able to try to do some economic damage to be able to go into the rest of this, but
Last player
I
standing.
don't think it's gonna be quite enough. They're gonna have to just chill with it. The first one to fall is gonna be Heeker, potentially followed soon after by Philosophical, who's gonna be holding on to heaven with all that he can, gonna be catching them from behind, but the spray isn't quite there, as the crossfire getting Smitty to catch Gore from behind right there. Too strong.
VG Dreams now lead with a score of 5-2 on their attacks, and well, the main point, there's a lot of talking points starting off with Blakey Wakey, who was in the middle of the site. He did get his initial picks, then threw out a beautiful paranoia, and just couldn't capitalize off of it. I think it was down to the fact that he just didn't have enough support in or around the site. I think what V3 Dreams did right there was zoning out the defenders from retaking pivotal areas that could have directed them back into the mainly from mid with the barrier orb, and also through, I believe, the stairs that connected into heaven, that they were zoned off by not frag nades, but fragment nades from the KO. It was just a beautiful take from V3 Dreams, just like how this is a beautiful one too. Obviously, with the janky buy, Hunters Association are just gonna give them the A site for free.
Yeah, not much you can do with the amount of user that was stopping that. Trapfire's gonna be grabbing Prowler, being blinded, but Juan with the ghost is gonna be able to take that one, and Heeker grabbing it the refrag soon after is continue to keep this nice and even, but Feeney's gonna fall, make things a little bit more imbalanced. He's gonna fall right after Blakey Wakey, almost being the next one on the chopping block. Gore has the rendezvous in hand as the paranoia comes out, gonna be able to see what they can do. Not quite able to hop onto the wall though. They're gonna have to start stabbing at 5 bullets.
Last
in
player
Blakey Wakey's
standing.
clip. We know that is right there, and that's 2 kills going right under their belt to end that round.
I thought, you know what, I thought Heeker was on a heater. That round, but yeah, Heeker was on a heater. He got like 1 kill, and then he flicked on the other's head and he was able to get a 2-piece, but unfortunately for him, he does die, but fortunately enough, his team does win that round just as well. A nice round for V3 Dreams to claim, but I mean, it was off of the back of a janky buy from Hunters Association. They intentionally gave V3 Dreams this site just so that they can play for a more passive retake, take indirect gunfights against V3 Dreams, because with the weaker weapons, that's really all you can do. And well, V3 Dreams, they did have 3 players taken off of the board, so that does do some damage to their economy. So not all is lost to Hunters Association, apart from the fact it is a 6-2 scoreline, and the next few rounds will be pivotal for Hunters Association.
Yeah, we'll be seeing what Hunters Association is able to make happen in the rest of this, but a bit of a util dump back and forth. We have seen this. Lose 2 rounds, win 1 from Hunters Association so far this half, so we might be able to break through again as 6 inches playing around the smoke, playing around the bomb buddy. Vendetta will be getting the first of the round though, making their way into B heaven. And you don't want to see Juan fall. That's a lot riding on that Nightfall, a lot riding on his taunts, but 6 inches is going to be shutting down the showstopper, and Feeney getting a frag onto V, making this push go to a standstill just a little bit on A, sending them home packing in just a second here. Sloth going to have to run their way on out to be able to try to get to the rest of the team in a moment here, as once again, we still see V3. They're playing very slow. The stars are getting popped over by A to be able to just grab that, have the util for this post plant, and see what happens. As once again, this very split positioning is very fragmented as everything's gonna be going on. Taking CT, V3 was spotted. Gore saw the little corner of
10 seconds
elbow
left.
on Smitty,
You will
but
not
no
kill
one's
my
on that side to be able
allies.
to work with. As Floss is gonna be rezzing V, make it so it's a 4 versus 4, nice and fragmented. As Philosophical is gonna be taking out Gore, taking away Vince. Does get
One
6
enemy
inches as well.
remaining.
He's gonna be taking out Feeney soon after, bringing it all down to Blakey Wakey in a 1 versus 3. It's a beautiful execution so far. Could happen, but Eaker is gonna be equipped with the Head Seekers and take Blakey Wakey for a wild ride, making it 2-7.
The resurrection there really did save that round for V3 Dreams. And they didn't look too good at the start, but again, got the
BYB
resurrection
fam,
online and
going
were
to
able get
Astral
their
to
teammate
do them
back in
Astral
to the frame of
Guardian things
What
I
I
do.
really liked about that, especially from Slock in mid in particular, in Vince, she was able to get her on slow orb down in Vince. She was able to get a kill and then enable V to another, and that really did slow down the retake for V3 Dreams, or not V3 Dreams, sorry, Hunters Association as they went through Vince. But also V3 Dreams again Association out of their own sight, but Lord have mercy, Sheriff Blakey Wakey, what the hell was that? And Meta is down very early on, and that's the raise off of the board.
Very, very upsetting pick if you're on V3. They've been strong fragging as well as paint shells with the bomb buddy are just very good at making space. So he's gonna be also taking out Gore. Very important players gonna be falling back and forth. Very Orb gonna be securing positioning in mid though. So Juan Leon is gonna have to let them pass for the time being on into vents.
I know exactly where you
Bottom
are.
of mid, and there's the neural theft. They're gonna have to back up just a little bit more paint shells from 6 inches. Is gonna be trying to keep everything slow as long as they can, but Geeker might be trying to force things to heat on up with the star placements. Sheriff still in hand of 6 inches is going to be falling down to Geeker. And this is 3 bodies left in the hands of Hunters Association. They don't have much to work with, but we've seen a bigger
30
happen.
seconds left.
Philosophical getting a frag onto Juan Leon off to the side and mid, bringing Beanie's
Spike
attention
planted.
to this vents area. It could be detrimental to them as they're going to be seeing some coverage in the second here. And that's a spray down from Philosophical with a Vandal, bringing it all the way back down to Blakey Wakey. Sheriff in hand, we saw them take out Vendetta, who was on the top of their own world for a little bit there. So we'll be able to see who else will fall in a second as their only job, do damage to the econ.
Cover going out.
Damage to the econ, that's really all they can do. They did get a pick onto Vendetta very early on. It wasn't them, I believe that was Feeny, but no, not Feeny, sorry, Gore, as I remember it, or it wasn't. I don't even know who it was at this point. I'm not gonna even talk about it. But regardless, they do get that early pick onto Vendetta. They do some early damage to the economy of V3 Dreams, but they weren't able to get no kills past that. Unfortunately, that is
I got
the
enough
story
time
of
to go into
Gundam
the Astral Fall.
in Valorant, and this is another buy round from Hunters Association. They do have an ultimate available in the face of the Fade ultimate, the Nightfall, which can be used again. Since, you know, the thing is that since Hunters Association are struggling so much with retake, the Nightfall utility could help them in doing that.
Yeah, we might just see a very aggressive play from Hunters Association, though. 3 bodies in mid with a Hawk coming out. They could just pop a Nightfall and get moving. That's going to be the first one to fall in the mirror matchup of the century. Feeny is going to get suppressed. No more util coming out of them for a second as another On is going to be coming out. Wrong ability for a second there, but it doesn't get anyone. Its paint shell is going to grab Smitty. 3 players left for V3, but brought down to the 3v3 by V.
Right there.
Nightfall's gonna come out, make things a little bit more awkward, drop Hellspark temporarily, but sprayed through the box, bringing it to a 2 versus 3. Blakey Wakey looking to flank someone in a moment here, but they're playing very slow coming out of this garage, and Gore has a beautiful position to stop an A-take with the rendezvous, see what they can do. Couple stars are down, so they're gonna have to be careful about how they position in a moment here. But that's Trapwire coming out to be able to try to hold this site in the close play. But Eager is going to be the first one to
30
fall. We have
seconds
that
left.
bomb in
Spike
window,
down A.
and Gore's not gonna let it out of their sights as Blakey Wakey is coming up all the way through sewers on this flank. Gonna be potentially behind V, who hit the trademark in just a second here. But Gore on the back of this site is gonna be
One
in a very
enemy
scary
remaining.
position as the Sloth will make them fall. V, I think we can tell the
seconds
spray
left.
is not there. A 4K in hands of V to be able to steal another round.
Last round
Okay,
in the
for
half.
Ian, I mean, been very pivotal on that Sentinel role as of late. The one thing about that last round was the fact that Blakey Wakey had the element of surprise. It was just unfortunate that his shots weren't able
That
to
goes
match that. And it happens again to the best and the worst of us. Again, I'm the worst of us because I don't. Sometimes I try my best to hit my shots. Sometimes it doesn't work, and again, it happens. Sometimes the aim just isn't there. And right now, it isn't there for Hunter's Association like it was last time on Haven. Split operates in a much different way, and obviously Hunter's Association just haven't adapted to what V3 Dreams have been bringing to them.
Yeah, this isn't looking like their map, though. Their crossfires all game have been very beautiful on the last map, but might be able to see some of that magic come back out. Blakey Wakey is sitting right off to the side of B main. Is going to be able to see what they can get running as they spot the back of the building. Going for the wide swing is able to take out Sloth as well. That's two very important players down as the Null Command comes out, leading the charge all the way to the Feeney, feeling confident with Blakey Wakey at their side, but Smitty up everything as the spray down is good for one, but Feeney with the refrag. Now, both bodies of V3 are on this A site as the bomb's getting ready to go down. Maybe Gore is going to be able to make something happen in a second here. But likely they're just going to wait for the cavalry to come in and be able to flood into the site. They're able to catch
One
Eager
enemy
with
remaining.
the taps from the Phantom. And V is very aggressively positioned on this cage. Might be able to just surprise and he's able to take out Gore. The showstopper does damage them heavily, brings the trap wire out of question, and one will be sealing the deal. Beautiful round coming out from Association.
Another 3-9 or
Switching
another
sides.
9-3 half as V3 do take it comfortably so, and their attacks have been on point for most of it. That attacking round wasn't, the best, but it wasn't the worst either. In Hunters Association, well, we've talked a little bit of ish about their retakes and how, poor they've been in split, but that was actually a really good one, and they did it together as a team. Now heading on to the first round, and that half both teams forced on pistols, of course, because that's how these rounds work. And so it's, just like I said, when V3 Dreams were down a couple of rounds, the same half 9-3. It's very pivotal for Hunters Association if they're looking to claim all 3 points that they get this first pistol round, and because it'll set them up for future rounds, especially if they're able to win their bonus too.
Yeah, V3 so far has been looking very much like a all or nothing kind of team. And I'm honestly here for it. Once they get going so strongly. But as we saw in game one, once they fall apart, it feels bad. But we're on attack pause for just a little bit here, so you're going to have to bear with us for just a moment as we get taking the scenery. But let's look at Blakey Wakey's interactions with Feeney, though. I feel like out of every dynamic duo, these two have been the ones I've been seeing the most throughout both of these games so far. Never one without the other so far.
Most definitely. I'm really liking the way that Blakey plays. It's the same way that V is playing. V, who's on 14-5, who's done a really good job on that sentinel role of lurking and flanking when her team needs it, especially right behind the defensive lines when they're not expecting it. And the same thing can be said for Blakey Wakey, more so on Haven, when he was on top of the table for a majority of that matchup for Hunters Association. I really liked his role in there. Also, I feel like Feeney and Smitty have been decently okay in using the KO's utilities. I noticed on attack for Smitty at least, and this is an improvement from what I saw previously from Smitty on a KO, is that he's using his utility effectively, and it's like when they're on attack, it's to push these defenders back or force them deeper into the corner so that they're forced into more unfavorable gunfights, or even just zoning them off completely from the site, which I really do like. If there's one thing that I can say about Smitty, if it's not really the chambers that he's on, it's obviously the KO. And I felt like in this matchup, at least on split, since V3 Dreams are doing so good, I felt like he's been more effective on that role than I've ever seen him throughout the entirety of the season.
Yeah, and you have a lot more time spent with these teams than I do. But out of the newcomers, how are you feeling about watching Gore on these takes? I've only seen his chamber. Have they been popping with anything else to your knowledge so far? Anything?
No, not really. I haven't noticed anything bad from Gore, but I also haven't noticed anything too great from him neither on the chamber. He's had his moments, of course. I mean, on Haven, since that was Hunters Association's best map so far. They took that map dominantly, so it's easier for me to give positives on there when it comes to Gore. Obviously, holding down the long angles that exist on Haven and doing it well. I noticed that there was only one time in which the tour de force was popped, and for most of that game, Gore was forced onto the operator, and I felt like whenever he got the first picks on Haven, it was with the operator, and he was doing a good job of holding down long angles on Haven. Obviously, Splint is a bit of a different story. It hasn't been the best of matches for him, but it also hasn't been one of the worst. He is only 6 to 10, and I feel like now on attack, this is a time for Hunters Association, especially when we look at their more aggressive players in 6 inches and Born Feeney on that and on the Chambers and the KO and now the Raze. They can make something happen with this lineup.
Yeah, and it looks like Hunters Association is going to be making their way towards this A. Vendetta has the paint shells in hand to be able to slow things down. Does end up spotting out 6 inches while they're at it. But this push is looking very slow as Sloth is playing mid, does spot the top of someone's head. So they're potentially going to be making their way around to be able to getting a frag. But Heeker in Heaven is having a little bit of an issue with the bomb buddy as the rest of Hunters Association is just toying with them. Getting more util out wherever they can get it, trying to burn all of the util on the side of V3 before they even think about starting a push. Which, honestly, that feels like the right play here since V3 have been playing very well around all of their util. But here we have Sloth as well as V in very strong positions as these smokes are going to be falling to be able to stop this mid push, but V is going to fall, followed by Sloth as Heeker is going to be able to get across the mid. But the right clicks from the Classic are going to be brought to a close by Gore taking out Heeker. And Smitty in A Heaven gets paint shelled, but is able to dodge it by just a little bit as the dark covers are going to be setting up for a B plant. So your bomb's in another castle. Unfortunately, you're going to have to go get it. It's a 1v3. I personally am rooting for Smitty on this one. Ghost in hand, they can get a couple. But this post-plant positioning from Hunters Association is very good. Having 6 inches in this mid, being able to claw behind whomever they want, especially as that 0 point is going to be coming out, gives away the position just a little bit, providing for a much more aggressive positioning as Gore still has headhunter shots to use, and that's 2. One is going to be tagging and bring him down to 20 HP as they're continuing to play around the smoke. It's a classic tap to bring them home. Yeah, and once again, we see that pistol round going in the hands of Hunters Association. It might be a bit of a bad omen, but only time will tell. V3 did fall behind a little bit on Haven once they ended up losing out that pistol round, but as long as V3 is able to keep a consistent gunplay on the board, I think they'll be fine as they're mounting their way on an A-site leaning push. Paint shells is out from Vendetta to be able to tag multiple members of Hunters Association for just a little bit. It's a nice little flesh wound as V has a very aggressive position in B main, going to be keeping anything from pushing in there, but the Prowler gonna be on Sloth's tail. Doesn't quite get anything. Then it's pushed all the way up. Is able to take up Wakey Wakey. And Gore teleported on out of there with the rendezvous. It's still 4 versus 4. Smitty's playing a very close angle, and Heaven is going to be taking some right clicks, but Feeney going to come out on top as Gore is able to take out V as well. Making this a lot uglier as Vendetta with another head tap of the Classic is going to be able to get a gun in their hands. Pretty little Spectre to work with, as Sloth is going to have to wait for a healing orb to be able to make magic happen in this 2 versus 3. Classic still in their hands.
Spike planted.
40 seconds on the clock to be able to work with. Don't know if it's going to be enough, as Vendetta is also finding themselves tagged, having to push into a Bulldog and 2 Spectres. Might just be their undoing as they're creeping their way up. This is just a force round coming out from Hunters Association. The round that's important is going to be the next round, their bonus. But we see Sloth creeping their way through Heaven. We see Vendetta all the way up in screens, but the shots are going to be landing from Philosophical. Juan will be the first one. Vendetta with Spectres able to get 6 inches, and there's the upset. Feeney gets the kill with the fragment, but Sloth with the Classic will take Feeney for a wild ride, and we're going to be able to see them pick up a gun and move on to be able to go into their team's force round and start shutting out their econ.
We do have a replay for you guys, and oh my god, I mean, what a beautiful retake from both Vendetta, the coach, and Sloth, the one that we're focusing on here today. All started off from Heaven, where Sloth retook that position, able to get a kill onto Juan Leon. You got them pinching the rest of these players inside of this A sites, and then the fragment is there to take out Vendetta in that elbow position, but unfortunately, that's all that goes through for them as Sloth takes out Feeney. But a good retake. You know what? We saw Hunters Association struggle in the 2v4 and the 2v5, but that looked like a breeze from Vendetta and Sloth.
Yeah, it looks like Vendetta has the confidence to be able to run this the way that the Vendetta we all know and love will, as Sloth is going to be playing this barrier orb very close again. Just waiting, playing timer. It's a whole other minute and 10 seconds to work with. So not getting overzealous on the defense is the name of this game, with Hunters Association stance fairly aggressively around A, as Gore just kind of tapping around with the Headhunter. There's not much to say as things keep going on. We get this round going deeper and deeper into the late stages. Hunters Association is just not able to force out as much util this round, as it seems like V3 is aware of the game that they're playing. Sheriff shots going for a little bit of a pre-fire, but not landing. Gonna have to push into V's little spider web of a setup here. That trap wire can make a huge difference. Here comes the fragment grenade, being able to slow things mid.
30 seconds
Gore,
left.
4 shots left in the head. Trying to make this happen as the Prowler is going to get shot out. And there's Sloth going to fall, but Heeker on the side is able to take his own straight out, fall by Feeney with a head tap. And the flash drive going to continue to slow things down, as Smitty has a strong position in Heaven to be able to work with. His Paranoia did come out, as well as flash drive going to be
10 seconds left. One
Smitty
enemy
with
remaining.
4 down, and another one bites the dust as V grabs the last kill on the round, bringing us to a 4-11.
You know what? When you said another one bites the dust, I immediately, the song from Queen was rung in my head for some reason. Another one bites the dust. The dust. Yeah. No, sorry. I'm in love with Freddie Mercury. Anyways, let's not talk about my infatuations. But regardless of that, another round for V3 Dreams, and that's 2 in a row for them. And one thing that was also really important in that round was obviously Heek's position in Vince, but also Smitty's position on those stairs, on those Heaven stairs. Didn't need to use any utility, just need to keep his gun up, and kept his gun up. He did. And it was just a big round for V3 Dreams. Now they edge themselves closer to match and map point, and we could find ourselves going into the third map in just a couple rounds.
Powerless.
Yeah, and here's the Null Command coming out from Feeney as they're going to be making their way onto this site. All the King's Horse and all the Queen's Man be back together again, and Smitty's also going to fall right after. This bomb is going to be going down 2 really strong players off this board. As we're going into the later stages of the round, the bomb is ticking. Vendetta is going to have an uphill battle to climb as they're making their way with Sloth alongside Heeker, who's been able to get a lot of beautiful spray downs thus far, but I don't think they're going to be able to expect 6 inches on top of this.
One enemy remaining.
One spray down, followed by Feeney and 6 inches, they all got theirs. That's 5-11 now.
Oh, wow. That was quick. Quick rush from Garage into B site, and really V3 Dreams, it's not like they didn't have anything to do about it. They didn't really do anything to stop the push coming in from B, and it's very hard. It's very hard once the attackers get control of your own site to just mainly on split. It's very hard to get when the attackers get control of your sites as a defense. It's very hard for you to retake.
You want to play?
yourself
Let's
just because
play.
of how limited are and how easy it is to zone out those instances for people trying to retake or people trying to get into the site.
Yeah, now V3's econ is back down to this very awkward buy as Sloth is going to be holding out for dear life behind this wall. Gets revealed by the knife. We're not quite sure exactly where yet. Fragment's going to continue to slow things down, and the showstopper did come out a moment ago. Not quite getting much, but Vendetta does get an orb for it to be able to work with this. The bomb buddy's going to try to spot out any lurkers. Sloth through the smoke is going to get taken out, though. Fragment drops the floor with the open hand, is able to finally take out Vendetta after some shots go back and forth. And now it looks like they're going to be looking to take A as the dark covers are coming out into A heaven. All the way from downtown, Blakey Wakey still playing this lurk game. Could pay out huge as Heeker trying to intercept with 6 inches, going to be taking their head off. Now it's down to a 5v2. We're going to be able to see if V3 has any stake in this round, but with Spectres in hand and barely any armor to work with, it's not looking good.
Not looking good. 2 players left alive. Blakey Wakey on
One enemy remaining.
But now they do. That is turn around and pay attention. But Blakey Wakey does take a deep nap. So the opposite of the name. Pretty ironic that. And now V left in the 1v4 situation. But again, the only thing that they can hope for is to do as much damage to this Hunters Association's economy as much as humanly possible by taking out these players that are rotating. He might just catch himself a gore here who has the tour to
Oh my wire.
and there you go, that's an easy kill for them. But again, he does a lot of damage on the Association. They just keep peeking him, they do. But 6 inches is able to get that kill, and well, Hunters Association, they find themselves onto 6 rounds to 11, so that's now 5 rounds. That's a 5-round difference stats. But you know, V3 Dreams, they still that was a round that they were, you know, that they would be expected to lose, and especially after the janky buy that was made, and after the previous round they were forced on pistols. And now look at them, they get a buy round, they have full shields apart from Sloth, but they also have 3
Let's
ultimates
make some
available,
chaos.
the Cosmic Divide and also the Null Command, that can keep these defenders, or sorry, these attackers at bay. And if there's a time to pop the Null Command, well, it is now.
Yeah, it looks like V is going to be playing around mid here. I don't like seeing these prowlers coming out early. Gore getting their pick off to the side. They're going on their own hunting trip. With Heeker next up, potentially on this menu. But nothing quite's happening. But when you're playing into Fade, when you're playing into Raze, these early trips, I disagree with them. They just get taken out so easily and grabbed by Util. But so far, it's been working out for them just fine. As this very split push from Hunters Association could come out huge. Heeker playing around these smokes very aggressively. Here's what's coming up on the ropes. Is able to take out 6 inches. And the Null Command continuing to ring out for just a little bit longer, keeping them from being overwhelmed by Util in a second here. But Blakey Wakey makes a little bit of noise on the rope. Fragment nade out onto the ramps. It's going to be very nice position. The Paranoia comes out. Feeney is able to take off Smitty. I'm seeing a little bit of double here. Heeker's trying to play with what space they have left. The dark cover going to be able to get them onto A safely. As that's the bomb going
30
out.
seconds left.
Timer is now ticking. He has to be able to get something going. And so Blakey Wakey not able to stay cool under pressure with those sprays. Taken out by V. Sloth catches a res. Now it's a 2 versus 4 to try to hold this retake. The Nightfall did come out.
One enemy
but he hasn't
remaining.
really got much to show for it as Sloth is able to take Juan Leon, and now it's all down to Gore, who's been able to anchor sites previously, but I'm not sure how much time they can really play. 1 before to get into it, and V is able to get him right before it begins.
Had no real utility to help them in the post plant. The only thing he could have done in that situation was use the headhunter. But if you were paying attention at the bottom of his screen,
Match point.
he was nullified by the, I believe it was the null command. I will nice point, but nope, it was most definitely the
I
null
should
command.
play
'Cause it
some
got popped
Astro
that
Stars
round.
in this
But
reality.
the null command shutting down the chambers in that situation, but also shutting down a lot of what especially when it came to util, and they were left befuddled on that attack. Now we're at match point for V3 Dreams, and well,
Right there.
if there's a time for your players to turn up, especially when we're looking at Gore, especially when we're looking at Blakey Wiggy, especially when we're looking at Feeny, this is that time.
And here we see the Prowler gets caught by the tripwire as they're continuing to work their way through, trying to burn some util. Looking like a bee leaning bush as Sloth gets the barrier orb shot out. He's able to spot one out. The shots go back and forth, but no one's quite falling just yet. So they're able to run their way on out. Looking safe and sound. Scratches to show for it. Look, Hunter's Association making their way all the way up to mid. They're in their face. The Haunt comes out, is able to get shot out with the camera. Already gone. Not a worry. Trapwire, what a nice teammate shooting it out for Feeny as they're going to be trying to make their way through. Everyone's feeling just a little bit vulnerable today as once again we have playing that stairs position. Is able to get hit by the Prowler. They can't quite see much. As Hunters Association, they have control of B Heaven. They have control of B Main. They can start pinching onto this site. But right now they're just looking to walk, and they might just walk right into the hands of Vendetta as well as Eker here. As Feeny is playing around on this rope.
30 seconds
no one
left.
is spotted quite yet, and there it is. The Y-axis doesn't quite go in their favors. The Showstopper will be coming out from 6 inches. Trying to get some room in B from hell. The Showstopper goes a little bit wide, and they're able to take one, but Feeny with 3 Frank Sloth getting Gore, followed by Juan Leon making a Sloth drop. And here we have a 3 versus 3. The
10
bomb starting to go
seconds
down as Paint Shells comes out.
Spike planted.
Tag out. Everyone is just very low as Feeny's able to grab Vendetta.
Last player standing.
Feeny's able to get a third on the round, might be able to get another one from the wall. The smoke does fall. Smitty's going to be taking him out. And now it's down to a 1v2. Caught reloading as they're dropping out of heaven. And now it's down to Juan trying to seal this alongside Blakey. Blakey and Juan will be the one that comes out on top in the end, making this 7-12.
That's a very bad round for V3 Dreams to win for a number of reasons. Well, I mean, they'll be able to sort of buy in this round, or they're going to be forced onto weaker guns as I'm looking at the screen, and I'm also looking at the amount of credits that they do have. They will be forced onto weaker guns, so obviously weaker guns means when you're in those direct gunfights, you won't really be in a favorable position to take them, and also it means that you might have to play a little bit more passively, which isn't a good thing either.
Pulling them in!
Out the defense more or less honestly. It doesn't seem like V3 Dreams, they don't want to play passively. They want a good aggressive, and they want to hit this back line of, oh my god, they want to hit this back line of Hunters Association. So many kills go out, but it is eager to find the eventual trade onto Gordon, getting out the man count, and there goes Reese to extend it.
My camera is
D3 is in a very weird spot with V sitting onto the site. Not quite spotted out yet as no command continues to happen here. He's playing for Juan Leon with the reaction time. He's able to take B as they start to peek. Eker dropping down off the top rope. Feeny going to grab that frag, bring it to this 2v3. Sloth making their way to try to be able to pinch as Smitty all the way up in B. Prowler, the Stinger is just enough to be able to get it going as Sloth is going to make Feeny drop. Now it's down to the 2 in backside. Blakey Wake is able to get the teleport on out of there.
Last
but the
player
burst
standing.
drop-
One
Not
enemy
quite there.
remaining.
Sloth has the health, has a Spectre in hand to work with, is able to make Juan Leon go down. And this is match point.
That's the whole damn map.
Thrifty.
As V3 Dreams, they just take it.
Defenders
What a
win.
clutch from Sloth.
Yes.
I
Now
can't
demand
believe
what
she
we
was
have
able to get that shot with the assault rifle that the Fade had in that situation. Hiding in a good spot too is just Sloth is just different. She's built diff.
Well, that's the Sloth that we know and love, leading a team effort really from V3. They looked far more composed in that map, Loki, and it's shades of what we expected from V3 coming into the match in the first place.
Yeah, they looked a lot more confident on that smaller map to be able to get quick rotates, as well as we saw the Rays matchup going back and forth. It was a lot of fun to watch, but I want to sit down and take a little bit of focus on V, who came out of the gates swinging, constantly on those flanks, and always right where you wanted them, alongside Heeker having so many beautiful spray downs. But Smitty, I'll point out, is the unsung hero. All of those times they were able to get very explosive was Smitty getting well placed util as the solo initiator. That can be a very stressful spot because it's very easy for your util to get wasted when you're the only one there to be able to try to open up some area for the team. Uh,
Yeah, it is. 1B. We're going to be heading over to Haven next. We'll talk more about that map after the break. But what do you think was lacking? Just quickly, what do you think was lacking for Hunter Association on Split? What changed between Haven and Split?
The thing about what worked on Haven, what didn't work on Split, is they weren't able to set up the crosses that they previously could have on Split. Every time they tried to, it just got shut down from V3 Dreams, and you could count it down to the fact that Smitty was using his utility more effectively, or even V was able to be a little bit more effective on the lurker role on Split, considering the way that the map is designed. That is a lurker's map, in my honest opinion, especially for the attackers. And so, whenever Hunters Association tried to do that, whenever they tried to also do retakes as well, and they tried to work together as a team, it seemed that V3 Dreams, they'd made them like look a little bit discombobulated, especially with their own teamwork.
They did. Well, we'll see if they're able to recover their own composure going into map 3. Breeze up next, the decider really for the fates of both teams in this season. Don't miss out. Welcome back, Victoris fans. Welcome back, Valorant fans. It's the Victor. You can be a Victoris fan too. It's the Victoris Rivals Series, Week 5. Hunter Association going head to head with V3. It's currently 1-1 in the series. It started out very Hunter Association favored. However, we went to our second map of Split, and V3 showed their form, showed why they are currently sitting top of the table. And now it all comes down to Breeze. Big open spaces. We've seen what V3 can do here. They actually, last time we saw them here, they brought the Rainer. It surprised us that they wanted to opt into that, but Sloth put on a masterclass. Loki, given the performance we saw out of V3 on Split, do we think they're just getting warmed up? There's first map jitters, which seems to be common for them over the course of this entire split. We think they've got that well out of them now when they're looking for a dominant showing here on Breeze?
Yeah, I definitely think they got the jitters out, being able to keep those comms nice and clean and concise. We saw from the way they were rotating around the map and playing things slow. But we're going back onto Breeze. This is a very long map. It can have a lot of the same issues that we have for Haven. So I'm very worried going into a player like Gore that they might just get shut completely out at the end of the day from those op wonders with the Tour de Force.
Well, you speak of the Tour de Force. I remember Haven, I've actually noted down, we didn't actually see the Tour de Force come out. It was such a dominant showing from Hunter Association. Gorge didn't die with the operator. When they did that one time, they just brought it back again the next round. It was quite a showing. So you're right there saying we can expect big things out of Gore. It will actually be Hunter Association starting out on the attack this side, though, so we might not get to see it until the second half. So really, 1B, the pressure is on. We know how good a defensive team is. Sorry, how good a defensive team Hunter Association has been. Discounting Split a little bit. So V3, they need a solid start here on their own defense. Otherwise, we could be seeing just this guaranteed first place spot slip out of their hands. So in that, I guess to follow on from that, what does Hunter Association need to do to get back to that form they found on Haven?
Well, I feel like the main thing about Split is that we didn't really see much from Gore, and that's unfortunate to say because like I felt like he had his moments, but not really too many as we saw on Haven. And so hopefully in Breeze, especially, like Loki said, this is a big, wide open map. There's so much space, but there's also so many long angles that can either make or break you. And Chambers is pivotal on this map, not really for like his trademarks or anything like that, but what he offers on the board in terms of being your opera, but also the tour de force, which is really really good on these type of maps. So I feel like we need to see a bigger performance for him. I also would like to see Blakey Wakey do the same thing that he's been doing on Ascent and on not Ascent, sorry, on Haven and also Split, where he was getting where it was like what we saw from V on Split, getting behind the back line, infiltrating the back line of V3 Dreams a lot of the time, and he was able to get away with so much on Haven. And I wonder if that will continue on Breeze because V3 Dreams, they didn't let a lot of things slip past their radar and Split.
Well, we'll see if they get a chance. Might not be able to bring the Omen. Viper, a good pick here. And as we're about to load into Agent Select, just talk us through what we may want to see. Given that it's a different map, we do see a sort of sometimes different agents coming to the fore here.
Yeah, Breeze, I can see a lot more skies coming out in the form of your initiator to hold on to those flashes, especially if you're going to be running instead of Fade. And Sova alongside a Viper is a very, very strong combination, no matter how you slice it. But once again, we're probably going to see Gore grabbing that chamber, keeping the massive range from the Headhunter early on, as we get going, the Ops and Tour de Force can be a very interesting game watching him.
Interestingly enough, though, for Hunters Association, not too surprised by their lineup. The only thing that I'm kind of eyeing just a little bit is 6 inches hovering over that neon. I wonder if he is going to click and confirm it, and if he does, well, that will make for some interesting plays on the attack. I'm also looking at the fade pick that Hunters Association have decided to stick with for every single one of these maps. It's not confirmed from Juan Leon. He's found I feel like some value from the haunts and the haunts in particular, especially when it comes to getting that intel, the Prowler also doing some work for the
Select
team.
your
But
agent.
I haven't really been too that impressed from Juan Leon on the Fade, if I'm being honest.
No, it's very fair. And honestly, I disagree with seeing a fade here personally,
Yeah.
even though it's going to be alongside that Neon to be able to keep that aggressive shove alongside a Prowler to, for the most part, confirm a lot of blinds, if not just confirm a kill, having the little bit of cover that the Prowler provides on these rifle rounds. But only time will tell what they're going to be able to do. We saw it on Haven. That's a very large map. Almost this exact same comp, but Blakey Wakey was on Omen before. So we might see a very different playstyle from them on Viper trying to run up these rounds.
Interestingly enough, too, for Smitty goes off of the KO and instead goes on to the best opper in the game. Let's just face it, he is. I hate to say it with Chambers because I actually do. I love Chambers, but I also hate him. So there you go. I know Mr. B in the background hates when I say that, but I'm gonna be honest. I love but I hate Chambers. I love playing him, but I hate playing against them. And for Sloth, instead of going on what she went last in the last map, which was other Sentinel and Sage, Sage doesn't really. I feel like she doesn't really work well on Breeze for a number of reasons. But instead, she goes on to probably one of her more infamous or more famous agents in the chamber. She's played this chamber quite a bit last season, and this season it's been kind of all over the place. It's been either Arena. I have seen her pick Sage just a little bit. I think that was actually the first time we've seen her pick Sage, but it's either been Arena or a Chambers. And it's interesting to see her go into Chambers on a Breeze, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense considering how Breeze is built and what Chambers is.
And Gore's going to be starting off our kill count here, followed by Juan Leon grabbing Eaker after the refrag. But B is low, going to be caught in the back by 6 inches. This A site is under lock.
Last player
time
standing.
being by Hunter's Association.
Spike
Smitty
planted.
falling off of Orange right there as well. And through the door, Blakey Wakey is going to be popping Sloth.
They were able to get such easy control of mid and then take that pressure from mid and completely overwhelm the players playing on A site. Almost nothing to really stop them on that first round. And they were just able to completely decimate P3 Dreams on that entry, but now heading into this round, we see a Bulldog from 6 inches, so it'll be interesting to see 2 Bulldogs actually from 6 inches and also Juan Leon, assault rifle plus the Marshall. Obviously, this is their buy round for them, and that'll set them up perfectly.
Yeah, making their way into A. Once again, Smitty is able to hear some people stomping around on the wood, and that's an orb going into the hands of Feeney. That Milkman getting funneled. Very, very important. Tailwind is going to be ticking. A recon bolt does spot out 6 inches. That's not going to be. They can no longer dash. They're going to get caught out by 6 inches. There's a Bulldog. And Prowler not quite landing on feed. The site is opened up. Quite massive. He is going to get sprayed down. Almost able to
Last
take
player standing.
Wakey with him, but Heeker will be falling to Gore, bringing it all back down to
Spike
Sloth.
planted.
She has the Headhunter to be able to work with, and Blakey Wakey at the very least is very low, so this could turn into something huge. But Feeney going to be pushing first. They're able to take out Feeney, but almost colliding Blakey Wakey. They're going to have to fall to an 0-2 right now.
Screen down.
I like that cartoon finisher. I don't know why. I like cartoons in general, but that one's kind of funny to me, especially the way he. You know what that reminds me of? The way his body looks contorted. I can't remember which cartoon it was. I'll forget it. I'll remember it sometime soon, and if it happens again, I'll probably remember it. But anyways, this is the thing about Breeze that I feel like not a lot of people talk about. Is we talk about how much space there is on Breeze, but there's also so much space for the attackers to work with, and sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming for the defenders. Obviously, for the corner, but oh my God, Heeker gets the first pick, and it's just a full rush into the site.
Spike down B.
And Vanetta is able to get one of their own through that toxic screen to be able to force them to drop it.
Spike planted. One enemy
Gore out in
remaining.
the mid, dropping this all the way down to Juan Leon. You blinked and you missed the attackers on this one. The buy round looking very explosive as Juan Leon bonusing with his Bulldog is going to be able to see what they can do. The spray's not quite there. Vendetta is going to be taking them away. Grabbing around 4v3.
Don't even stop that
That was a very ballsy play from Hunters Association. They tried, and they do take one player off of the board, so that player has to rebuy their gun. But they failed, and that's okay, but because that was their bonus, and it wasn't like a full buy from them. But now we head into the third, or not the third round, my fault. The last round was the third round. I can't count. The fourth round, and you know what? The thing that immediately catches my eye from Hunters Association is the fact that Feeny already has the null command, and that can do so much damage to this V3 Dreams attack, especially when they're trying to use util to slow down this attack that's coming in from Hunters Association. Can just disable their utility to slow down these attackers.
Yeah, and Vendetta was able to get a couple spotted with the guiding light, but Smitty on top of a pretty little angle mid is going to be able to see what they can hold. No one's able to get them spotted with that Prowler quite yet, as we hear people all around them. The Tailwind is going to be fizzling out in a second. Unfortunately, they see Feeney's backside is able to grab Farming is almost able to tag it over to Feeney, but Gore is going to be stopping them just before they can achieve anything. Great, here comes the null command. Gonna be keeping Feeney nice and confident, 3 HP and a dream. Take this site with the team, get that bomb down, get moving. He left Gore in mid, that's just fine. They're gonna be able to lock that down alongside the rest of V3, trying to go from all of these angles, bring it in. Gadget destroyed, there goes the trademark. And they're going to continue to sit behind this box on mid. And get sprayed randomly by V. That is not what you want to see if you're on Hunters Association. The Seeker's also going to be making a 6-inch fall. And Sloth pushed all the way up. Teammate is able to make Feeny drop and snaps their fingers. They're gone. Blakey Wakey spotted out.
Poison's off.
The back is like to be trying to creep their way around, but not quite able to get away unscathed. The sprays are going to continue to lower their health bar, and they're going to be caught out by Heeker in the end, trying to get to the diffuser. 2-2.
Slap just pops the collar, snaps the fingers, and she's gone. And that's the round for V3 Dreams. But the big kicker there for Hunters Association was Gore's pressure in mid. Had he been able, well, not really pressure, but I want to call it alert. He was trying to hide behind the boxes and catch some of these V3 Dreams players off guard. Unfortunately for him, V is a little bit smarter than that. Was able to sniff out his position, kill him, and then the retake ensued from there. It seemed like after that kill into Gore, Hunters Associations just collapsed upon themselves, and it just the post plan just didn't persist from there.
Yeah, it looks like Hunters Association is going to be regrouping, trying to take A once again, popping that haunt into the back of A. No one is on this site to contest him too much. Fast lane going to be trying to make more space as the recon bolt does spot multiple players for a second there. Gore getting the tap on his Smitty elsewhere.
Planted.
But bomb is now down and it's ticking. You have to push Blakey Wakey in a Viper's Pit. And we saw them playing those close angles almost this entire night as he was able to grab 6 inches. But this is Blakey Wakey's site. I don't think they're going to be letting this go for anything, even with the Seekers coming out, even with that wall to be able to try to make more space. He's going to be pushing through the Seeker. The Cabbage Patch is not enough to be able to stop Gore. He's going to be taking their head off nice and clean, continuing to have this presence from Double Force, holding this triangle as it's Law in there, grabbing him on. Going to be dropping back for a second. The Score is able to get their third on the round.
One enemy
fall.
remaining.
Vendetta is able to continue to hold this.
Last player
He's
standing.
going off, but Gore top right at the 4K, bringing another round at the end for the attackers, and all of V3 fell.
Vendetta tried to escape with the rifle there, but the spike caught him. Well, just in time. Not in a good way for him, but in a good way for the side of Hunters Association. But what was interesting about that round was the amount of vision denial that Hunters Association used, especially with the double wall. It was the Viper's wall and then the fast lane to follow up to cut off so much vision that the V3 players could have onto that spike being planted.
You
On
want to
top of
play?
that, they
Let's
also
play.
used the Viper's Pit, which again denies so much vision that the V3 Dreams could have on that spike, but it also slowed down their retake exponentially.
Smitty is going to be spotted by that haunt as well as they were caught shooting. Gonna have to tailwind themselves out of that angle, unfortunately. And Gore, playing very aggressively mid with this tour de force in hand, is able to spot Vendetta on the shoulder peak. Does not pull the trigger quite yet, though. Very, very disciplined on this, as they're going to continue to play with the time, let it draw as the rest of their team is rotating. It's a huge map to be able to get through. It's hard to make a rendezvous, and Heeker not quite able to get the spray down, ends up with their head getting sought out by Feeney. And now that's a very important pick to be able to get this start of the Prowler is going to be revealing. No one is close right now, but Vendetta has a nice angle onto this B main as more util is going to be getting popped out. That Haunt spots nobody. And we have 40 seconds left on this clock. They're going to have to start committing in a second. Hunters Association has the pick to work with, but not quite wanting to commit yet. Prowler, no one's on the right side
30
either.
seconds
This is going to
left.
be a really exciting as the overdrive comes out from Hunters Association and Tour de Force shot rings out, but Vendetta behind them gonna be able to spot things, but gets flashed just before they can spray down Blakey Wakey. Sloth has a very nice angle watching onto the site, but might get spotted out by Gore in a second
Spike
here, who also
planted.
has Tour de Force to work with. They're just dancing around each other mid and don't even know it quite yet, as Sloth is sitting in tunnel, was able to get spotted out by Feeney. So the Snakebites are going to be cutting off their way to move, as Gore is going to be making their way to be able to try to take them out before they become a problem. The
Last player
is
standing.
always cut down by whoever catches the other from behind, as it's now all down to V, who's going to have to save their weapon. That's 5 bodies left up to be able to hunt through. And miracle is going to happen, but I don't think they're going to be the miracle worker here.
Yep, I don't think they're even gonna try. They're just gonna wait for exit frags, and there's 2 players that are in their line of fire. What? I'm so sorry. Did he drop his weapon? Did V just
Little
drop
bit of
his-
panic.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. I thought I was tripping. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but I was like, did they just drop their weapon? Because I just immediately saw them switch to the classic, and then the Vandal wasn't there. But yeah, that happens. It happens to the best of us. And again, it happens to the worst of us. Again, me. I do that sometimes. I fat finger my buttons too. It happens. But the interesting thing about that round was obviously Vendetta's position in B, in the back of B, that Prowler not hitting or not really going in that direct corner. I don't even think it didn't even go in the back of B whatsoever. And he could have been the elements for surprise for V3 Dreams, but he was flashed at the right moment. He couldn't spot out his shots, and that's another round for Hunters Association.
And it looks like Hunters Association is going for another area denial on A to be able to see what they can get, but Gore is able to take out Vendetta. And that's a very strong player off the field so far, as we were able to see this far. Feeney going to get out with their full health bar to Smitty, not quite able to land these shots with the Sheriff Tailwind. Going to be completely ticked out now, but we have 6 inches deep all the way in the enemy lines. Gonna get spotted by this trademark over in the halls, but not gonna care about it, as Heeker's gonna be taking out Gore. That's our rook right off the field, as Feeney's gonna make his way to B main, and there's check as the bomb is getting ready to go down onto B. 4 bodies left in the hands of Hunters Association, and a bit of a jank buy from V3, gonna be able to see what they can do, as Sloth once again making their way on top of mid, is able to take out Blakey Wakey here with a beautifully placed tap. One is going to be making it sure they don't stay alive for too much longer. 2 bodies on site, and once again we have this mid presence coming out from Hunters Association, except this time it got to pay off just a little bit instead of getting unfortunately
One
down.
enemy remaining.
And there's Smitty going to finally fall, and the spray down not quite there. V 16 HP to work with, Guardian in hand. Might just be able to make this work, as the flash drive comes out from Feeney, who's going to continue to just taunt V into trying to do something, but V's going to have to save the gun, walk on, hope that they're able to get this econ together, but might get spotted out by Juan Leon right at the end here. There's the peak, but the shots are going wide back and forth. This is a little bit awkward. 3 seconds left to be able to try to save this. V's going to be taking Juan Leon and might just not quite get there.
That's a lot of bodies taken off the board for V3 Dreams. It does some damage to the economy of Hunters Association, but not too much to the point where it's noticeable. They're still sitting pretty economically, and it's a timeout for V3 Dreams from their coach Vendetta, who obviously saw something that he wasn't happy with. And and also there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this upcoming round, because not only do they have to pay attention to what they buy, but also, well, what direction do we go for this defense? They have so many important ultimates available too. The Hunters and also the Viper's Pit, which can do a lot of good work when zoning these attackers away from a specific site, or even the Hunter's Ferry in particular being very good on retakes. And one thing that V3 Dreams are struggling with at the moment is keeping keeping hold of site control, but also their retakes have been just a little bit dry. I haven't noticed any positives when it's come to their retakes, apart from that one round in which they won, where we saw a masterclass from both V and Sloth.
Yeah, and once again, a lot of what this conversation has to be coming down to is we know they're starting to get ahead. Don't you dare start thinking about game one right now. This is a new map, new us. Get moving. We can keep this close. We can stomp them out in the next half. But right now, it feels like they're just kind of stuck in their tracks. V3, little worse for wear as this continues to go on. Blinky Wakey almost has the Viper's Pit online again as they're going to be looking to make their way A. A little bit of util going out to be not quite able to spot anyone. And no commands here. Going to start heating up the haunt. Doesn't spot anyone either. Philosophical on the other side of this wall is going to be in a bit. The rest of their team falls around with this double triple spray down. And now it's much more winnable. Here's the 2v2 to work with. Only one body actually left up as 6 inches deep is going to be able to work their way around this site. Has the
one enemy remaining.
Feeny will drop, snap their fingers. They made their way at the next rendezvous. As now 6 inches is caught in between the two forces to be reckoned with on this site. And a beautiful play.
One enemy
as the
remaining.
one's gonna fall. And now we're down to the 1v1. This is Battle of the Hydras. They're caught in the middle of high gear. And they're just gonna keep sprinting around and able to get caught out for the 4K. And the bomb is ticking. We're right at the end. It's getting very close. They just might not have clutched this. And here, right at the end, that was a beautiful set of sprays, but they didn't have time.
I don't know why, but at the end there, 6 inches, going into high drive. The way that the animations look in this game, kind of make me laugh just a little bit. But doing the Neon doing just enough to delay. You know, the most important D of them all. That so bad. Sorry. Oh, so bad. Delaying the retake coming in from the 2 remaining players from V3 Dreams. There was a smoke. I wasn't really too keen on that smoke. I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like that helped out the Neon more than it helped out V3 Dreams, if I'm being honest. But regardless, the smoke was out. But again, it was just all about the delaying potential. The pacing from V3 Dreams was just a little bit slow in that retake.
Yeah, V3 is gonna have to start moving a little bit faster as we get going there. Vendetta does get the guiding light onto multiple people mid, and once again we have this A split coming out from HA, but Vendetta is able to take Juan Leon for a wild ride, and we're gonna continue to try to leverage this mid a little bit, not letting them get too much of this map under their belt. It's probably gonna be the name of the game with how V3 is playing so far as 6 inches. Caught in this mid is gonna drop the flash lane and get moving right on with their life. As the rest of their team already in hall is gonna be making their way up into a trademark in just a second here. But I don't think V3 is going to respect it too much for what it is. They're just going to assume, oh, hey, maybe there's just 1 or 2 bodies here. But then there's going to be a lot more to hit the floor as Sloth might become the first contact. Feeny wiggling around this corner is able to spot it out by the box, but they hear the rendezvous, and Blanky Wake is going to be making them drop as the door is now open. V has 30 HP to work with. Smitty fell right beside them. And this is not where you want to be if you're V3. Vendetta catching the backside of one is able to get the other, bringing this down to once again a 1v2 as the 6 inches. The sprays go back and forth, and they're able to get a 4th to be able to secure this round this time. 3-6 for V3 and HA.
Here.
Who said coaches can't play? And just so if you missed it, well, lucky for you, we do have the replay ready for you guys. Obviously, the pressure came in from mid, and it became a little bit too much for V3 Dreams to deal with. And then after that, they decided to not go for an A push where mid is directly connected to, but instead decided to go for B, and they played right into the line of fire of Vendetta, who was hiding in the corners. Again, who said
You want to play? Let's play.
Coaches are goats, and Vendetta proved it there.
Yeah, he's not your average high school coach, as we see the Viper's Pit coming out from Heeker onto this B main, try to keep anyone from stomping their way through here. But all of Hunters Association has already made their way into mid to be able to start grabbing land where they can. But no contacts quite yet, as we have this positioning from everyone. holding each other's cross, holding their weights, trying to be able to make space happen. Eager, judge in hand, might just start looking a little bit frisky as Vendetta's going to make Feeney the first to fall. In this position around mid, Smitty really wanting to peek, but knows that they can't quite get this 4v5. Try to chill for just a little bit longer. We know Hunters Association, they'll get aggressive, they'll get sloppy. Just give them the time to do it as we catch the high gear and Neon's on out of there. 6 inches deep, going to be making their way over to A, leading the charge right in the front lines. Could be having to face a Sloth, who does have that tour de force in hand
30
in
seconds
just a
left.
moment here. And potentially without much utility to do it as they spot Sloth's back. Shots not quite landing there, and Toxictrine will be going
Face your
out.
fear!
Has to play much more aggressive angle. Also around the fast lane, Sloth is going to get the first pick onto the 6 inches and tap the Rendezvous on out of there. Grabbing the Haunt as well. 13 seconds left. Feet gets sprayed a little bit through the box, and Hunter's Fury not quite on point. And Score is going to be coming up the backside with their own tour de force to be able to try to make things more awkward as Toxictrine for retake is here alongside the Seekers. Those pretty little Cabbage Patch Kids are going to be spotting out Gore and actually doing it blind holding up. And Blakey Wakey trying to hold the site is able to take out Vendetta. Oh, a star player thus far and a wonderful coach as Smitty's playing this Toxic very aggressive. Able to get one. Blakey Wakey able to get one more of their own. 30 HP to left to work with. And Snakebite not quite on the bomb. Not going to be able to get onto this in time.
One enemy remaining.
Not quite there, but Smitty is able to save it in the end with a tailwind back onto that site. Get that defuse on lock.
Oh, was that important?
I don't know if you heard me. I said right in the middle of that swing from the Viper on Hunters Association, Blakey Wakey. When that snake bite fell, after that he decided, well, okay, I'm gonna make up for it by swinging onto the planter. Obviously there was Overwatch from Caves, but imagine if the flick from Blakey Wakey after he got that kill onto Heeker, if that flick on Smitty was just a little bit point, that might have been in Hunter Association round. And again, I said during your casting, like, where the hell is Smitty? Because like he just hid in the corner. He was playing that angle a little bit more passively when in theory when you're overwatching for someone you want to be a little bit more aggressive than that. But he got the win. Hunter's Association was that round and
yeah, we see Smitty on an aggressive angle, spots out this fast lane. He's going to be able to try to play as the overdrive comes out. We hear you all the way through there. The spray down is good. Able to kill one on out of there. Recon Bolt continues to spot one body, but Blakey Wakey now has their Viper's Pit to play. This makes it so even with these weaker guns, with this Stinger, with this Ghost, you're able to guarantee fairly a good gunplay for your team as long as everyone's able to sit on it. As Vini's going to make Vendetta fall, but V, showing to be a star player so far, was able to grab Gore as well.
One enemy remaining.
Sloth on the other side is able to make this Viper's Pit drop. It is all down to Juan with a Stinger in hand. Not quite able to make it happen. As that's another round, bringing us 5-6. Still in Hunters Association's hands. They still can try to keep some momentum going into the next half. They just need to play their hearts out this next round.
Last round before the switch.
It's the last round before we make the big swap. As you can hear the big announcer plus the big UI on your screen
Need a drop.
say that so Smitty does have the Blade Storms available. And since this is the last round before the swap, I wouldn't be surprised if he were to pop it right here, right now. It would. It's we all know the Blade Storm is a very powerful utility, and also, I mean, look at that. He has. Okay, I don't really know.
Need a drop. Thanks.
Where that went. Oh, Smitty now does have the operator because he had it in the cannon and he just like did it for the Vandal. Oh, okay, that was an interesting choice. But I mean, look, he's gonna hold this not really long angle, with this long angle, this really tight angle on to shops. But it looks to be a bit of a fake of rotation from Hunters Association onto this B site. And if Hunters Association are able to hit this site hard, it might take V3 Dreams off guard.
Yeah, no, Hunters Association, we've seen their aggressive takes when they have this time to set up like they did can be very devastating, but Heeker is going to be shutting down any hopes of B main for just a little bit longer with a Snakebite and Poison Orb emitting. But Vendetta has this angle on mid, was able to spot out for no shots fired quite yet, but the Trailblazer will come out and not quite get to concuss anyone. But it looks like Hunters Association is just foaming at the mouth, waiting for the smoke to drop as shots go back and forth. Sloth was able to find Feeney. That's a big amount of util off the board now. As Vendetta's guiding light is going to spot one out, but Gore not going to be full blinded by it. Continuing to watch this angle, waiting for Vendetta to get sloppy and try to wide swing. but it's going to stay nice and
30
tight as the
seconds
fast
left.
lane comes up, and they're going to be making their way right into the hands of V. They will get the first spray down into 6 inches, but it's going to take it out through the door by Gore. But Smitty with the op, going to get that repositioning to be able to watch double door and keep A for as long as they can. 15 seconds left. All they have to do is kill the bomb courier in a second here. 10 seconds
10
and
seconds
counting.
left.
Blade Storm is at the ready to be able to make something happen. We might be on Reset City, as not quite able to make the blades
Spike
land. The
planted.
bomb is down. It's 2v2, but both players are dinked a little bit, so something could happen in way of V3 to be able to shut this one out, but it looks like Hunter's Association might be able to run away with this one. The Viper in the hands of Blakey Wakey, still alive, able to play their orb, able to play their toxic screen. The Guiding Light not quite getting through the wall. The Prowler going to be able to continue to hold this just a little bit longer. Heeker nice and close on this toxic screen as it's getting ready to fall. Blakey Wakey back into the
Last
clutch. Gonna
player
get wide by
standing.
Heeker, who gets the one tap, but Juan gonna be able to try to play for time just a little bit longer. Stops the bomb defusal, but not able to get around in time. Now that's a 6-6 first half. We have a hell of a game on our hands.
Yep, that is the story for the future rounds to come, and we might just be here
Switching
for a while, folks.
sides.
So get your hot chocolate. It's actually really, really hot outside. Don't get no hot chocolate. Get some sweet tea. Get some iced tea or something, and get popcorn because we're gonna be here for a while. Both of these teams are going at it 6-6. This is heavily contested, and you know what? I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty sure everyone heard it on stream, but I screeched. I most definitely screeched when Smitty missed his Blade Storm because that was a big one for V3 Dreams. But luckily enough, we got the coach to clutch it out. You know what I mean? It's all about vendetta. It's all about Dreams Royale, and he's showing y'all why he's royal. He's showing y'all that he's more than just a coach. We're gonna have a documentary from Victoris. More than just a coach. That's the title.
Yes, Tales of the Coach
Oh no.
has the poison orb. Not quite where you usually want it, but it will be able to emit in a second. Nonetheless, the toxic screen will come up. Making his way through the haunt down, running out. The Classic is able to take one, traded out. Weaker, but Sloth able to get the one tap on the core before he can really react. Smitty in this beautiful position on Orange is going to be falling just above the toxic screen by Juan Leon, as Eaker now going to be playing a very aggressive angle on the double door. Is going to be trying to get themselves back at 6 inches, able to take off Sloth, shutting the headhunter down right before they get going too far, but through the box, through the smoke.
One enemy remaining.
Now it's
Last
all
player
down to
standing.
Feeny as they watch 6 inches drop to Eaker. This 1v1, full flashing themselves actually, and Heeker's going to be spotting them just before they can get that out of their eyes for a 3K.
Really close round to start off our first pistol round of Breeze, and I would talk about statistics when it comes to pistol rounds, but it's been very inconsistent across all 3 maps. I know for a fact that V3 Dreams won the first pistol round of Breeze, and then they proceeded to just win the second pistol round. I think on Split, V3 Dreams also won the first pistol round, but then it was Hunters Association to end up winning the second one. And then the Haven one, that was a little bit too far for me to remember, but that's all I can remember when it comes to the pistol rounds. But that should tell you, that round alone, with how close it was, should tell you how heavily contested this map it has been so far.
A gorgeous lineup on the poison orb, but yeah, no, some of these pistol rounds are at this point ancient history, as it looks like V3 is going to want to start stomping a couple players up through halls, see what they can get to work with, but Gore is here to intercept. The headhunter shot one wide, but we have a couple more. It's just one shot in the clip so far. Pop much more. They're gonna be more tacit. Like Wakey gonna caught Nintendo with another flash, and Sloth is gonna be able to take that one away as the taps just to barely go wide on 6 inches, who is now a little bit worse for where the bomb is now going down. Misses the shot onto the knife. Now it's a 4v2. The bomb is down. V3 is gonna be running it up in a second here. We have Feeny and Juan Leon on very different angles.
Last player
Make this happen.
standing.
The Classic in hand. The taps are almost there, but far reloading, so they're able to just get sprayed down for free. Another round going hands of V3. They have a bit of momentum now.
2 rounds in a row. I mean, you do win that pistol round, it does set you up perfectly for the second round. The second round that they did win is not surprising for them. I've seen teams lose those rounds before, so it's definitely not impossible for Hunters Association to be able to win those type of rounds, but regardless of that fact, V3 Dreams, yeah, like you said, momentum, you know, both momentum is, and they have that right now. And if V3 Dreams is one thing, they are a vibes heavy, a momentum based team. You can tell when things are not going wrong for them, they make it known in the way that they play. Another gorgeous lineup, bro. It's on point with these lineups.
Yeah, you can tell Heeker has the biggest brain of them all as this relay both going to be making that push through double doors. Very awkward. Sloth taking out Blakey Wakey. There goes that. Here goes Juan Leon followed by Gore. All of the bodies are just dropping, and here we have Feeny trying to get what they can. Vandal in hand from double doors going to be tapping through this toxic screen, but none of the shots are landing. Vendetta's going to be taking 6 inches. Shoving him nicely down into that dirt, reminding him who the coach is as they get running this. This might just not be in Feeney's hands, unfortunately, as V is able to get the spray with the Spectre, and that's another Vandal going in their hands. That's such a strong bonus round.
Remind them who the coach. I'm so sorry. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into that. But you know what I've been liking from V3 Dreams is most definitely not only we talked a little bit about the lineups from Heeker and how on point they were, but also the unorthodox toxic screens, and they're really effective when it comes to cutting off not only like we saw the one in the previous round where it cut off the vision from mid, but it also cut off whatever long angles that Hunters Association wanted to hold on bridge as well. And you saw how effective that was. It helped them rush into mid, and then it also helped them rush through mid into the A site. But it also, again, it cut off some angles that Hunters Association wanted to hold, especially Gore, who's sitting in halls, but he's the first one to get picked inside this.
Yeah, you hate to see that with Heeker grabbing Juan Leon soon after, but Vendetta got the guiding light out, responds body 6 inches deep with the Sheriff, is able to take Vendetta for a wild ride, but now it's 3v4. Trying to fight for anything on the site, gets the tag onto V. It's not quite enough, as the rest of the team is trying to get in here. Cloudburst, he's nice and slow, but Feeny with the Sheriff's able to take out Sloth. That's a weapon in hand. Might be able to make something happen with this now. It's looking a lot more doable than Flash Drive. Not quite catching anyone but Smitty in between pyramids.
One enemy remaining.
And right there, Feeny will fall by Orange. Blakey can make the way up. Is able to get the one tap on Smitty. And now Heeker, full mag to work with. They can dump as much as they want into this. But Sheriff still slow creeping. V3 has a very slow tempo so far, but it's worked out.
One enemy remaining.
Association has kind of adopted the same thing. Even if Blakey Wiki was there sooner, I'm not sure they were able to make anything happen as V was able to get the frag as well.
I have money.
For Hunters Association, nets them 3 kills, so not too bad of a round, but it is a round that they lose nonetheless. There was a buy on a Marshall as well from Core, who's holding down mid, but once he died, once I want to say once mid was given up, not mid as in the big wide open space of mid, but I mean Hall is my fault. I don't know why I confused that for mid. Oopsies. But yeah, once Halls was given up due to Gore dying because he was holding it down with the Marshall, you just saw how discombobulated the hold was on A, and Hunters Association, well, they were left scrambling to get back onto site. You saw so much, again, vision denial, especially from wooden doors with the cloud smoke, but also their denial of letting Hunters Association to get back onto site with the angles that they were holding from way far back. And that's why in this round we're seeing a timeout from Hunters Association, because there seems to be a disconnect in what they want to do, and also what they want to do and what them wanting to do, how that becomes effective for them, because everything that they're trying to do isn't becoming effective. It's not clicking, and they need to find a fix for it at the moment.
Yeah, and that timeout, we're going to see Hunters Association trying to readjust their mental going into these next rounds, because we saw they could take a large map off of V3's plate. Right now, it looks like they're not having the same composure. Smitty's going to be getting the first pick onto Gordon, double doors, and spotted out by this overdrive. And after going back and forth, but 10 HP left is all we need as the regrowth is going to be coming out. 6 inches deep was cut down from the overdrive as Heeker pushing out very aggressively. He's going to be trying to grab him on with their bloody vendetta, and
One
Feeney's
enemy
going to be good for a
remaining.
double frag with
Spike
philosophical.
down, B.
Going to be taking out Feeney right at the end. It's a 1v3 now. Blakey Wakey left on B site, all on their lonesome, but Bomb is going to be making its way over to A in the hands of Smitty. He was looking to take a W on this round, but Blakey Wakey might have something to say about it as they're starting to creep over into mid. Unfortunate for them that what they have in store is Sloth and V both waiting for someone to creep into their jaws, but no one spotted quite yet as Blakey Wakey is able to get the flick onto V, and now Sloth from behind is going to be taking out Blakey Wakey. That's 11 rounds. We only have a couple more to go here potentially to see if V3 is going to shut the door in Hunter's Associate's face.
Yep, that round was. Yeah, Sloth most definitely did wake up. I'm so sorry. I heard the words of my producer and I had to repeat them on stream. I have OCD and it most definitely did distract me just a little bit. 19 of 10. Sloth in the previous 2 maps, I mean in Split, we did see her wake up just a little bit, but this is the full awakening and rise of Sloth that she's fully reinventing herself. You can tell, man. It's a chamber diff. It's a chamber div. Once she's on that chambers, it's game over for you, and it has been for Hunter's Association. Oh.
And speaking of over for you, we see Gore within an inch of their life from Sloth's spray down. Absolutely relentless, but it looks like the Hunters Association is going to be having a very awkward hold onto this B site as V3 completely split it apart. Blakey Wakey having to sit arches, wait for the rest of the cavalry to arrive, and see if we even have a shot at this. Now Toxic Screen's gonna be going out, and Gore is playing top of mid, trying to get something. Vendetta is waiting. The null command is going to be out in the hands of Feeney, but it's not going to be quite enough, I don't think, as he is going to make sure he has it. The coach is back. Everyone's going to be falling. Juan Leon is able to grab it in Sloth. She's good for a pick onto Juan. Now they're on the bomb. As here comes Feeney, going to be killing a champ a little bit. Vendetta will be the first one to fall in this engagement as the Philosophical has just one more target to come in through, and they're able to get the 4K on the round.
Jesus Christ.
Match point.
Once she's on that chamber, it's like a whole new invention of this girl. She just hits her shots, and it's absolutely amazing what she chambers. Now we head into match point, round 19, 12-6. 4 ultimates ready as well for V3 Dreams. One of them being the Tour de Force, also the Viper's Pit as well. And this might just be a Viper's Pit, the Hunter's Fury, the Seekers. This might just be a quick, clean, and easy execute for V3 Dreams, especially again with the ultimates that I just listed. And Matt and Series.
I've got your trail. Go, go.
And we hear some aggressive play coming back for as they slide into DMs and get
Spike
2
down
frags
A.
on 6 inches. Vendetta got Gore though. That's a very strong defensive player off the board as Heeker is going to be trying to slide through and grab Feeney and 6 inches on the side. Well, comes out, the double spray down is good. They need one more on the chopping block. Juan Leon is still in A main, as well as they have Blakey Wakey coming in bridge. This could get very explosive as the Bomb Warrior is going to live. There's the Viper's Pit coming out. This is looking a lot more losable from Blakey Wakey. They have their own Viper's Pit if they want to try to counter, but I'm not sure they're going to get to, as it's a very good position from Smitty to close us out. 2-1 in total for V3.
13-6 on Breeze as well, V3 Dreams. Well, we talked about them being a little bit asleep on Haven. They've, awoken from their nap on Split, but they've awoken from their complete slumber on Breeze. And this was as convincing of a win as it could get, 13-6. And once they made that comeback being 6-3 down, it just seemed like it was over for Hunters Association mentally.
Before we get into the analysis of the map and the match as a whole, chat, now the mission is on you. vote in the poll for who you want to be your MVP. Which player was the best in the server tonight? So now over to you, Loki. Yes, a dominating performance. Hunters Association actually got 6-3 ahead, and then every single round after that, it's what 10 rounds ahead, 10 rounds in a row unanswered to V3. What did they do in that little period in the midway through the first half that just turned them on so much?
Partway through, we saw Sloth was coming online constantly. I think I counted 2 or 3 4Ks from them alone, just being able to open up so much on the map, as well as we saw Gore falling very early into these rounds. But those unorthodox walls, as well as it looked like it came down to lineup knowledge on more than a couple occasions with the Vipers, just they were able to make more use of a lot of the Viper util on the side of V3. Heeker, with some of those poison orbs, able to cut off so much of the map and force these very awkward gunfights. But towards the end of that game, I wanted to point out the very aggressive play from 6 inches with their good old pal right off to their side, Blakey Wakey, trying to get so much space. They were able to get that bomb down, and it looked like we were going to be able to see a comeback starting. But just as they were starting to get through, the door was shut right on their arm, and they got pushed away. But going back even further, though, they looked really good on Haven. On those large maps, I genuinely thought this was going to be in the hands of Hunters Association, and I was going to be more than happy to be given a wrong prediction in the end. But it looks like since Gore was able to get taken out as often as they were, as well as just the different uses of the Viper util, which they had a fade to counter out of Viper's pit. There was a lot to work with, but it just didn't come into place.
No, and so 1B, how do you much do you read, I guess, put on V3's experience as a team, not only having been in the rival series before, but this is, I think, at least their third 2-1, sorry, their third 3-map series that has gone the distance, particularly also the third one where they've been on the back foot because they lose map 1. So how much does that experience they have being in this position before and being a team that's been around longer than necessarily, let's say, Hunters Association, how much does that play into how they're able to achieve these results?
I don't think it's necessarily the experience. Experience does play a decent role into it, but I think it's more or less the stamina that V3 Dreams had for a majority of that matchup, especially when we went on to Breeze. It just seemed like Hunters Association, they ran out of steam. The only two players that were still awake for them were 6 inches, and obviously Blakey, as we've mentioned, or not we, but Loki has mentioned a number of times, especially and that stamina comes from the fact that V3 Dreams, they've been here before. They've played in best of 5 series. They've gone all the way before in a best of 5 series. They've gone all the way before in a best of 3 series. They have that advantage. They have that not only experience, but they also have that stamina locked in. They've been here before. So they know what it's like, and they know what it takes to get over the finish line.
That they're doing. Loki, how do you feel that V3 was able to adapt, particularly given that they actually started on defense on 2 of the maps, and I know a lot of teams when they get to pick science, they like to pick defense themselves. So I've lost a little the graphic, but I believe map 1 was Hunter Association's pick, and in that case, V3 chose to start out on attack. Do you think that they're more attack friendly, or do you think they feel more comfortable on the attacking side? Maybe that's why they pick it when they get the option.
I mean, I'd have to agree with that sentiment. Once they were on attack, being able to control the pacing of these games, it definitely felt very V3 sided. The moment that the ball was no longer in their glove to be able to try to choose when they wanted to pitch their way onto a site to be able to drop bomb and be able to drop a couple of defenders along the way, they didn't really seem like they knew how to recover the round as they were getting into those later stages. But both teams honestly play very well on that slow game. And I would have liked to see Hunters Association clean up the defense just a little bit, being able to get Gore to live just a little longer on these maps. And this could be a very different game. I'm excited to see what happens in coming splits.
We might get a little chance now to see them in action in playoffs. I'm going to refer to my notes because I have to say, if Hunter Association had won that game and Hinky had won their two follow matches, we would have ended up with 5 teams in the group on a 3-2 record. That would have been hilarious for the admins to try and figure out who should finish where, especially given that we had 4 teams who have beaten each other in a giant circle of suck. But no, it's a lot simpler now. V3 guaranteed top seed, 4-1. They cannot be overtaken. Second will be Greed, who they will finish on 3-2, but they're going to have the best map differential out of the teams that can potentially finish on 3-2. Positions 3, 4, and 5 are where it gets tricky. Currently, Goofy Goblins are sitting in third. Hunter Association, having played all 5 of their matches now, are sitting in fourth. And Hingy have only played 3 of their matches. They're sitting in fifth with only 1 win, but there's potential they could win at least 1 more match. To get it, put them even with Hunter Association. If they win both their matches, they go guaranteed fourth, knock Hunter Association out. So it's a very complex end of the season, and I think Hunter Association will be sitting there waiting. They are totally reliant on the results of other matches. So a very interesting way to finish the season for them. So
Yeah.
I guess as we've seen now this group play out. Actually, no, so we can go to the player of the match now. So we are ready, and I think it's a very fitting choice. The coach steps in, makes the plays, was a consistent, solid performer across all 3 maps. It's Vendetta. Congratulations, Vendetta. Talk to us, 1B, a little bit about the Vendetta's play today.
Yeah, Vendetta had a lot of. I think the main thing about Vendetta that we talked about his solo plays, but his positioning was also key. We've also complimented V a lot of times on her positioning, more specifically on Split when she was on a lurker role. But I think Vendetta takes the cake here. There are a lot of times where his entries onto sites or even in on a defensive rounds where he's positioned himself correctly were just very influential to how they ended up. I think back again on Breeze when I think it was Hunters Association who easily got control of halls, and then they decided to not really go for A, probably because of the presence that V3 Dreams had, and A was too strong for them. So then they decided to go and rotate through mid into B, and Vendetta was sitting in a corner. He knew exactly what they wanted to do, and he sprayed them down. So it's fitting that he gets that. Also, I felt like his blinds today were just immaculate, and the intel gathering with the Trailblazers were really, really good as well.
And some solid efforts on Breach, it's definitely on Haven as well, Loki. I'm
Yes.
thinking of the particular situations where there was some great setups from the flashpoint going through the wall. You see Sloth swing out, able to secure a kill off the back of that. So a very strategic mindset from the coach, and able to demonstrate their mechanical skill on the server as well.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it came down to consistency, though. If we had to look at player for player, I think Vendetta performed the most consistently for getting stuff for their team, for getting these entries, for getting these late lurks and backstabs in general to make the other team's positioning awkward. So very fitting MVP. My runner up would definitely have been more towards Heeker, who also had very consistent gameplay and well positioned smokes, but having those guiding lights, having those trailblazers when we did definitely is what drove us home. As well as it's just impressive to be able to keep these death counts very low in every game, to be able to consistently stay alive for a lot of important rounds. You love to see that in a player. They don't always have to frag, they just need to be there sometimes. And this definitely shows out.
It does. And well, a fantastic performance from V3 secures their top seed going into playoffs. That means I think they'll be playing Phantom Thieves, who I believe are the 4th team in Group B. But we'll need to wait for the results of all the other matches in Group A before we can even figure out exactly who's going to be playing who in playoffs, which are next week. That is the end of our regular season. The top 4 teams from each group will be going through to a single elimination bracket over 3 weeks. We'll have quarterfinals next week, semi-finals in 2 weeks' time, and finally 3 weeks later, the grand final will decide who will be your Victoris Rivals Series champions. But for now, we'll bid you adieu. Legends is on tomorrow. We'll see well, they've actually got a whole lot of season to go because there's like 12 or 16 teams, something ridiculous in that division. But from all of us here at the Victoris Rivals Series, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thanks to the players for showing up. And thanks, of course, to my lovely production team. We got Loki, we got our regular regular Wumby, and of course, Mr. Fantastic running the entire production of things. In the meantime, check out the Victoris socials below the stream or left of the stream, wherever that puts it on the UI. Please follow us. You can follow anything, or any of the good Riot games at least. We got League of Legends, we got Valorant. We don't bother with TFT or anything. Anyway, until next week, see ya.